This week, we bring in our good friend, Mr. Jim McMurray, to talk about whiskey and cigars. And help us celebrate St. Patrick's Day, where we've got some green on, and we're going to be smoking some green cigars, and talking about some St. Patrick's Day cigars, some new releases, all kinds of fun stuff coming up on this edition of the Stogie Geek Show. This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where cigars burn slow, ashes fall fast, and cocktails flow steady. It's the Stogie Geek Show. Welcome, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. Joe and I are already silly.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Hozempa, a.k.a. Joe Hollywood, is here with me in studio.
I'm fired up. So we also have Remote Drew, who is remote over in Texas. Look at you. You got some Stogie Geek swag going on in the background.
Got my banner?
Where are you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm all set up for the Stogie Geek mobile lounge.
Confidence. Confidence isn't walking into a room with your nose in the air, thinking you're better than anyone else. It's walking into a room and not having to compare yourself to anyone in the first place.
Plasencia Cigars, perfected for more than 150 years. Yours to enjoy now.
Havana Cigar Club, located in Warwick, Rhode Island, is a great place to enjoy a drink and a cigar. Stogie Geeks listeners can find a $5 off coupon on our website by clicking the HCC logo. Welcome, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. It's episode number 378 for March 17th, 2023, here on St. Patrick's Day in G-Unit Studios. Mr. Joe Hozempa is here with us.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
I didn't wear green, but
You have a Guinness shirt, yeah.
This shirt was bought from the Guinness factory.
Nice.
So
Nice.
some 20-some-odd years ago.
It looks 20 years old. I mean, it looks good for 20 years old. Mr. Jason Albuquerque is here with
What's up,
us.
fellas? How
are
we
you,
doing?
man?
Doing great.
I like
Happy
your
St.
Sox
Patrick's Day.
jersey.
Yeah, it's the St. Patrick's jersey, man, for the Red Sox.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
And I got my little military
I love it. I love it.
salute to
We're drinking some Guinness.
Guinness. Got some Glendalough whiskey, little Irish whiskey.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
We get the whiskey expert on with us.
I
Our
know.
good friend Jim McMurray is here with us. Jim, welcome to Stogie Geeks.
Good morning or good afternoon.
That's right. Jim's West Coast, representing the West Coast. Jim has worked in cybersecurity for a long time and apparently been collecting whiskey for some time and loves cigars. And I'm always like, Jim, we need to hang out more. And now we've had an epic dinner, one of the most epic dinners of my entire life.
Oh,
It was
totally epic.
epic. And I
I
was like,
still talk about that dinner.
we have there's like a whole like culture created around that one dinner, dude.
Right.
It's awesome. Maybe we'll give a little tidbits from that dinner as we go on. But Jim, you're also a big cigar person as well, and I'm like we need. I don't know how we haven't hung out more over the years, given our what we have in common, our love for whiskey and cigars.
Right. Well, I think there is 3,000 miles apart, so that may be one of the issues.
It's some of it,
Right.
Some of it,
Some
for
of it.
sure.
But that dinner, though, I was explaining to my wife just last night, saying, "Hey, I'm going to go on this podcast tomorrow," and she says, "Who with?" I said, "Oh, remember I told you about that dinner?" And she says, "Oh, are you going to spend money again?"
Yeah. She remembers seeing the bill from that dinner. I'm sure you have a slush fund like I do to hide that stuff. Well, because your day job is do you run two companies, Jim? Did I get that right?
No, so Milton Security been around since 2007.
Mm-hmm.
We just changed our name to ThreatHunter.ai.
Mm-hmm.
Just make it more obfuscated of what we do, less obfuscated
Yeah.
of what we do.
I gotcha.
And then I run VetCon Actual, which is our veterans group. We have about 1,500 members that we support veterans across the U.S. And then we have the VetCon party, the official VetCon party at DEF CON each year. And that is about, last year we had like 2,300 people show up for the party.
Nice. And you, how long did you spend in the Coast Guard?
9 years.
9 years.
Nice.
Thank you for your service, sir.
You're welcome. As a 17-year-old, you don't think of doing it for others, for praise or anything.
Right.
You're young and stupid, and you think, hey, I want to go help people.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's still a good goal to have. I did want to promote a company for veterans. We're not sponsored by them in any capacity, and I don't often buy things that I see in a Facebook ad, but I thought this was really cool. So it's called the Hero Company, and they make these bracelets. In fact, I'm wearing one right now. It's a really cool bracelet. It has like magnets in it and stuff that are supposed to make you feel better. And a portion of the proceeds go to getting veterans service dogs.
Oh, that's awesome.
I thought that was
wow.
like a really cool goal. And like the shopping experience was good. Their story was great. And I thought it was a really cool thing. So you can find them at theherocompany.co. They've got a few different models of bracelets on there. I did the all black one because I thought it's supposed to look like a tank tread, right? I just
Yeah.
thought it had a really cool look, and it has an American flag on it. So, and again, I forget what percentage, but there's I read before. So it said they've funded $1.2 million roughly for veterans to get them service.
Wow.
I'm also a big dog person too, big animal lover. So kind of hit on both fronts there.
That's great. Now, they have a bunch of stuff too. They have the bracelets. They have dog collars. They have apparel. They have EDC gear. I mean, that's awesome. So, I mean, having served
Also, a lot of
having
us
served
nerds,
myself, I'm gonna go.
yeah.
I'm gonna go contribute, man.
There you go.
I like the paracord bracelet. It's pretty cool.
That's cool too. See, I had a paracord bracelet, and I was looking for something a little different. So, yeah, it's good stuff. So, Jim, how did you get started? Let's start with whiskey, because I've seen your social media posts over the years, and I'm like, Jim really likes his whiskey. I'm like, wow, and Jim's got really great taste in whiskey. And then when you and I sat down, I was like, wait, you have how much in your collection? So when did you get started in collecting whiskey?
So the real collection started around 1993, 94 timeframe.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I went, hey, I really, really, really want to keep these things around. Before, I enjoyed really good stuff, right? So when I was getting out of the military, that's when I had a little bit extra jingle in my pocket that I could afford to buy some things. And so 1993 started. I think I had, at the time when I set aside a full cabinet, I think I had like maybe 20 bottles, probably the same amount as I have back here behind me.
Right. And but like in the 90s and stuff, though, I feel like bourbon hadn't taken off the way that it has taken off today.
It was in a total slump. Right?
That's interesting. To think about bourbon being in a slump
I know, that's crazy.
Right.
is crazy.
So
man.
what was hot in the 90s?
I wouldn't say anything was hot, right? When you look at the market right now, everything from a Michter's 10 or Michter's 20 or a Handy or a Pappy, those things are hot.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything like that. There wasn't a culture around it.
Gotcha.
Social media didn't exist. It really was, what did you enjoy drinking? And, could you find it? And really there's no one, there was no groups that you could be members of. It was purely about you and what you wanted and what you liked and what you enjoyed. So believe it or not, I have a lot of old granddad from the 1970s and 80s, because I felt after old granddad was sold off, it didn't taste as good to me. So my goal in the mid 90s was to get as much of the 70s and 80s stuff I could find.
That's awesome. So my father-in-law is who's got me into whiskey, and I've been with my wife now. We're going on 20 years now, right? So slowly but surely he got me into whiskey, and recently he handed over to me. He's a big Jim Beam guy. Love Jim.
Was that
Beam.
like, hey, if you're gonna be married to my daughter, you need to be into some whiskey?
Basically you lasted 20 years with my daughter, so I'm gonna give you some special stuff, right? You hung around this long, and I haven't killed you, so that's
There's that.
But he used to collect the Jim Beam bottles, and they were the decanters that they would sell, and he had a bunch of Christmas ones from 1980s, and he gave me like 3 or 4 of them that I have at home. And one Christmas, we were hitting the Jim Beam. He loves his Jim Beam Manhattan, so we were hitting the Jim Beam. He was like, "Hey, you want to try some of that 1980s whiskey that you have that I gave you?" I'm like, "Absolutely!" It was incredible.
Yeah. No, so Jim,
It was incredible.
whiskey does it go bad? Like, is there a turning point for it once it hits the glass?
If you open the bottle and you pour some out and you put it back out, you cork it and you put it back up on the shelf, you really shouldn't have it in a place where, the temperature goes to extremes. There's sunlight, etc. If you don't plan on let's say you get halfway through and you don't plan on drinking it for a couple of years, decanting it and putting it into a smaller container is wise to minimize the amount of oxygen that's actually inside that bottle. But yeah, anything below 50% alcohol is going to go bad. Eventually, it will go bad.
Yeah.
So if it's 86 proof or 91 proof or whatever, it's going to go bad. You're going to get that murky, cloudy look to it.
After how long does it start to go bad? Is it a year or more?
It depends on
the environment.
The environment and the actual content of the alcohol and and how much is left in the bottle, right? The more that's in the bottle, the less likely or the longer it will take for it to turn to become murky.
I gotcha. Have you had bottles go bad on you?
Oh yeah. I won't name the brand, but there is a brand out there that's 86% or 86 proof, and I had drank maybe two sips of it, and I put it back up on the shelf because I didn't enjoy it. And 3 years later, it was one giant cloud ball.
Wow.
Interesting.
So as the master of whiskey, what's your strategy? You open a bottle, do you finish it within a year, a couple of years? Like, you want to make sure that what's your you have such a huge collection. You have such a huge collection.
The higher the proof, the more likely I'll hold on to a bottle that I've opened for a lot longer.
Okay.
The lower the proof, the less likely a bottle will stay on my shelf for more than a year that it's opened. And what I try and do is buy 2. If I buy something, I'm going to buy 2. One I'm going to drink immediately and decide if I like it or not, and the other one's going to go on the shelf. So when I say I have over 2,300 bottles open, you have to figure there's at least 1 to 3 more of each one that I have open.
Wait, so how many total bottles, open and unopened, do you have in your collection today?
Can I don't think I could say that publicly. I think my wife is going to watch this, so.
Well, if you do the math, there you go.
All right, we don't want to get Jim in trouble with the wife, because those of us that are married know we don't need any help getting in trouble with our wives. We do that all great, all on our own.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Let's just put it this way. I bought another cabinet last week from IKEA, and it got delivered, and she just looked at me and gave me really this bad look and left the room. Didn't say anything.
That's not good. That's almost worse when they don't say anything. Right. So when you were back in the 90s, as we got into the 2000s, like what started to change? I feel like that's the time when I started drinking whiskey, and Johnny Walker. That was like, everyone's like, Johnny Walker Blue back then was $180. You could get it way cheaper than it is now. I forget what the price was, way cheaper than it is now. But that was like the mecca, like, that I had first learned about in whiskey.
I think the biggest change between, let's say, from 30-year difference from 93 to 2023. The biggest difference is the number of expressions of the same liquid.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is, in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s, if a distiller said, hey, I'm going to make this really cool bourbon, it's going to be, bonded, right? 100 proof. And they come out with it. And that's the only product they have that's bonded 100 proof. And it's, a simple recipe and it tastes great. Well, now that same distiller goes, hey, I'm going to rebarrel it in a port wine barrel, or I'm going to rebarrel it in Mizunura. I'm going to rebarrel it in, all these different expressions. And then the other explosion is the non-distiller producer. Back in the 90s, it was really hard to find an NDP around.
What's that mean,
Now
a non-distiller producer?
So, Old Carter's one. Another good example is Whistle Pig. Except now they're kind of a quasi-producer because they have their own farm ranch rye, which is
Wait, so does non-distiller producer mean exactly what it sounds like? They're not distilling the spirits; they're just buying.
Correct.
They're
buying somebody else's spirits
and putting it in their barrels.
Maybe not.
Or getting the barrel from someone else.
Right. So a big one, right? If you look at the NDP market, who has the most expressions out there is Barrel Bourbon. If you look at their lineup, they probably have 200 different variations of rye, bourbon, and single malt now that they buy from, anyone from Four Roses or from Bardstown or from MGP.
Buffalo Trace, one of the larger distilleries.
So Buffalo Trace is one of the largest distilleries, yeah. And if you look at Buffalo Trace, it's actually owned by Sazerac.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And Sazerac owns, can I swear?
Yeah, absolutely.
Please
a shit ton of things. I mean, so many different products. So, if you look at his Sazerac being the owner of Buffalo Trace, yeah, they make all sorts of stuff.
And that's where Pappy Van Winkle comes from that?
So, yes. So, you can almost, that's another interesting twist, right? So there was a distillery called Stitzelweller Distillery, and there was a gentleman who worked there and also made his own product there as well, at Stitzelweller. And when Stitzelweller was broken up, he decided to move his product to Buffalo Trace, and Buffalo Trace paid him money, and it's still using the same recipe, same mash bill as it was at Stitzelweller. It's just now made at a different facility, at a different location, and it's specific rick houses where his barrels are kept. So he is a distiller producer, but he produces at somebody else's distillery.
I
right?
gotcha. Yeah.
Yep.
Because
but it's under his watch, his curation, his everything.
Did you see I believe it was a Netflix special? I think it was part of a series that does these mini documentaries around thieves, and one of them was I forget when it started, but like you could see most criminals, right? They just start getting greedy, and that's usually how they get caught, or a lot of times how they get caught. And they just started stealing a bottle or two here, and reselling it. But then as the price went up, it turned into this pretty large criminal ring, and they were basically ripping off Buffalo Trace in a big way, including Pappy Van Winkle, because that's where the bottles were stored.
Right. And he also got into other things, selling, drugs to his friends.
Yeah.
As steroids and.
Yes, he was. It was a steroid thing too. Yeah. With a softball team, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that softball team had the police chief on it, and they all were in on it.
Wow.
Yes, most of the time. Yeah, because he would say how he would drive to one of the judges' houses with, trunk full of Pappy Van Winkle, 300, 400, 500 a bottle.
It's
and
nice
they'd be
to have connections.
Yeah. This was a few $1,000s, thousands of dollars just taking a drive.
Wow.
That one part of the video where he says, "Oh, I got a call from my friend. He said there's a couple extra barrels. They're not even bottled."
Right. Yeah.
And so he backs his pickup truck in, and they roll the 2 barrels in, and then it drives up to the security guard, and the security guard is actually in on it too.
Yes. Yeah, they hand him a bottle or something like that, right? Yeah.
And is this on Netflix?
It's on. I forget the name of the show now, but yeah, it's on.
Is it a show or a movie?
It's a show.
It's a show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a show, and this was one of the episodes of the show.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'll have to try to find it.
Yeah, it's really good and amazing how like when you steal stuff, it's 100% profit. That's like that's interesting how that works.
Right.
Well, what's interesting is a friend of mine. He owns SoCal Wine and Spirits. Sorry, that's a plug. I didn't mean it to be.
No,
a
it's
plug.
fine.
And his store just got robbed the other night. But not robbed as in come in with a gun and stick up. They waited till he closed. They went to the back door. He had this giant steel door. They shimmied that off of the plaster. They basically broke the plaster all the way around, pulled it back, went in, and they took a Michter's 20,
For the
Amaranth
product.
They knew exactly what they wanted, and they took what they wanted. And it's about $20,000 worth of high-end whiskey, bourbon, and then a whole bunch of other things. And that's all they left with. There was 4 guys that came in, they ran in, and they were out within 2 minutes.
Yeah, because they knew exactly what. Yeah, so it's targeted, right?
Sounds like a delivery person scoped it out.
Could be. And that's interesting, Jim. I think to get into the level of collecting that you've done with whiskey, you almost need to have some connections. So how'd you source a lot of it? I'm certainly having a friend that owns a liquor store. That's how I got a lot of my liquor back in the day too. Like that really helps, especially to get the stuff that's hard to find.
Making friends. I like to talk a lot. If you hadn't noticed. And so every trip I would take for work or for pleasure, go to different B-sides across the U.S., for example. I would hit up every single liquor store within a 10-mile radius of where the B-sides was, or where DerbyCon was, or where DEF CON is, or whatever. Or if I went to D.C. for a meeting, I would go and troll out in Virginia, out in the middle of nowhere. Collecting old dusties was a lot of fun 10 years ago. Now, not so much because everyone does it, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's interesting. So 10 years ago puts us at like 2013, and I remember being in our local liquor store, and there was a lot of old dusty bottles sitting up at the top, and a lot of them were merchant bottlings, which is kind of like your non-distiller similar thing, right? Like I don't know what merchant bottlings are. Not always liquor companies. It's really like any company can like go to a distillery and be like, hey, can you make me like, I don't know, 50 cases of something, put a special label on it, and sell it? Did I get merchant bottling correct in that sense? Yeah. And those would always be the old dusty ones. And I tell you what, there was some really good, there was some, not so great stuff, but there was some awesome stuff in there too. At reasonable prices back then, 10 years ago.
And to go back, I'm not knocking NDPs. I love NDPs. I think they can be so creative. Seeing the same juice from the MGP being expressed in 3 different ways from 3 different NDPs. I think that's awesome. I think that's creative, as long as they're upfront about the fact that, hey, I bought the juice from MGP, but I did something with it. I put it in these 2 different barrels, or I put it on a ship and it floated around for 6 months at sea, or something creative.
Yeah.
Do you do the so I do some of that at home. I don't put it in a barrel, but I get laser cut etches of barrels that I buy on Amazon, and I drop it in my decanter, and then I put the whiskey in the decanter. I notice a difference, Jim. I don't know if you've experimented with some of this.
So you mean putting it into a crystal decanter and then letting it sit there instead?
Yeah, so I put it in a crystal decanter, and then on Amazon, I buy, there's 3 different ones that I buy that are laser cut. So they take a barrel and they laser cut out like a little notched kind of piece of wood from the barrel.
A little stave.
And and then is that a stave? Yeah, and I put that in there, and I let it sit for 24, 48 hours or so. And so like when I buy Elijah Craig, which is, I think, responds well to this at that price point. I think once you decant it with the stave inside of it, it kicks it up a notch, and like the value of that Elijah Craig just increased tremendously for me. Like it tastes better, it's smoother, just from that little stave that I put in there. And I think decanting it also makes because you got some air, it's breathing in there too, right?
Right. But yes, I have 2 decanters with. Occasionally, I'll put staves into them. But my big thing right now, it's been for a couple of years now, is I have a 10-gallon barrel. That is my infinity barrel. And the rule is the only thing that goes in there is anything that's above 100 proof has to be bourbon, and that's it. So when I get down to, let's say that much left in a bottle that after I've done my own pour and I know I'm not going to drink it, I don't want it to go bad or sit around or get lost. It goes into the infinity barrel. And
Interesting.
actually, we went last night to the cigar lounge and we drank probably 750 milliliters.
From the infinity barrel is a mixture of all these different things.
Yeah.
I have a question.
But they do
on
this
that.
in bars, right? They take people's cocktails and they dump it in the thing, and for like $1, you can get a cocktail.
My buddy Frank does this.
Yeah.
He does that exact same thing. He was telling me last time he was at my house. He has an infinity barrel that anytime he's got like 2 fingers worth of whiskey in a bottle, boom. It's at 2, like that's what he said. My rule is 2 fingers left in the bottle. I'll put it in the infinity barrel and let it sit.
And some people, they dump everything in. They'll dump, peat whiskey, single malt. They'll dump everything. But to me, I want.
You have standards. You have standards.
Specific flavor.
Jim, it's Joe. I have a question on that. We did a episode of Story Geeks on that with a someone who writes for one of the major blogs there, and he was talking about the concept of the infinity barrel. Do you document what goes into it when you do it, so that you're trying to get a certain mixture, or is it just Jim's infinity barrel and you're square with that?
I document it from a perspective of I want to know what I put into it, but not from a perspective of I want a specific flavor coming out of it.
Okay.
Yes, in general, I take that back. I do want a specific flavor. I want that bourbon flavor. I want that vanilla. I want that warm hug. I want that whole feeling of everything bourbon.
And do you test it? Like, obviously you take some out and then test it as you keep going. And is there a normal cadence to that, or are you just, hey, I feel like the infinity barrel tonight or whatever?
So like I would say every 2.5 months I have to take at least 750 milliliters out.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's going to sit there too long.
Sure.
In that barrel. And the barrel I bought, I was very specific. I only wanted a light toast. I didn't want a char inside. And the reason behind that, if it was too charred, if it was charred at all, it couldn't sit in that barrel for a very long time because, it is a smaller barrel, right? The wood to liquid ratio is much tighter. And if it sat for too long in that barrel, it's going to become way over oaked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have a few that I've been like playing around with and stuff like that. And it's a super cool concept.
Yeah,
it was a great,
really cool.
It was a great interview when we did it. The guy's name was, for the Stogie Geeks listeners, look up Aaron Goldfarb, and he's a blogger for. I'll look it up, but yeah, it's.
So where do we get an infinity? Can you go on Amazon and search for infinity barrel?
No, it doesn't have to be Amazon. You
It's a
could use
container.
Amazon, yeah. And
You could actually
they
use one of
sell
these.
small American oak casks. They sell it as small as I think. What is it, like 150 milliliter cask? Like a.
Yeah.
All the way up to, you can buy a 20 gallon, a 50 gallon.
That's a big barrel.
Yeah, that's a very big barrel.
Now, is there anything you have to do with it over time? Do you move it? Do you like any motion you have to make sure the mixture combines, or you just leave it? You let it sit.
Just let it sit
Let
and
it sit.
ruminate on itself.
All right, nice.
And you can actually buy like little glass containers, like this size or
That's
whatever,
super cool.
and then like make different type of infinity barrels and keep them going. And stuff
I mean, it's
like that.
basically a blended whiskey at that point, no?
Right.
Which nothing wrong with that, I think. I don't know. What's your feeling on blended whiskey? I think it gets a bad rap.
I think it gets a bad rap too, because again, it goes back to, it's a creative thing, right? There's some man or woman who decides, hey, these two flavors taste great together. Let's put them together.
Right. It's an art.
It is.
It's an art,
Exactly.
and it's all about your own taste and what you enjoy, and no judgment, right? I mean, it's like cigars. It's the same
Yeah,
idea.
it's the same idea.
Yeah,
know
but
what
you
I mean?
can't
Like-
smoke like two like this. And
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to have some of that creativity with a cigar, because it kind of is what it is when you get it. I mean, there are some people that do experiment with like putting different wrappers
Different
on
blends,
I mean, if you wet the cigar and you know what you're doing and you're careful, you can take the wrapper off that cigar and you can put on another cigar. Like I've known people that have done that in the past.
Right.
It's kind of, that would be the closest thing.
Right.
In cigars.
You know, it's interesting. Some companies, some whiskey companies, and I'll mention Michter's, puts on their label exactly what year it was dumped and what the barrel number was on every single bottle. So when you get, you know, they could sell 100,000 bottles that say 10-year bourbon on it, but they're all going to be slightly different, or groups of them are going to be slightly different from each other because they came out of different barrels.
Yeah, we've done similar things in cigars. I mean, every year the crop is slightly different. It's up to the master blender to preserve, you know, the blend.
But again, you have all of these boutique cigars now that are going to the factories that, like an AJ Fernandez factory, but bringing their own, you know, their own blend to the table, right? And coming out with these boutique cigars that are small batch. They're small batch cigars. And I mean, yeah, I think it's super cool. Again, you know, it's different recipes, it's different blends, and you get to try a whole bunch of different stuff. I think it's awesome.
I think we need a new acronym for the cigar side. NGP, non-grower producer.
There you go.
Yes, it's definitely a thing.
Right.
I don't think it has that moniker, but it's definitely applies, Jim.
Yeah.
Jim, when it comes to Scotch, I feel like Scotch is an interesting thing, right? Because it has such a rich history, but also I think as prices went up with Scotch, like I was literally watching prices go up, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I think that's part of what gave bourbon the boom, because bourbon was always less expensive,
more affordable
than Scotch. It was more affordable. So I'm like, I gotta get into bourbon because the Scotch is just getting out of reach. Did you see similar kind of trends?
Yeah, I think, you know, the bourbon boom. I think the rumor is, was it Matthew McConaughey who walked around with a Pappy bottle and gave them out? This is a long time ago, before they became super popular, and because of him, that's one of the reasons that bourbon got into that sudden boom. Was, you know, the looking into what else is available since I can't get that Pappy, right? And I think the same thing is similar on the Scotch side, in that, you know, good Scotch 10, 15 years ago was kind of hard to find in the U.S. It wasn't a normal thing. You couldn't walk into any liquor store and find, you know, an Ardbeg 25-year.
Yeah.
Just couldn't.
Yeah.
And I think they sort of helped each other, right? As the bourbon boom went up a little, the Scotch side went up. And then we started to see, you know, the Taiwanese whiskey start to pop up, right?
I was just going to go there with you, because I started really getting into the Japanese whiskeys, the Kavalans, right? The Kavalan, like so you know, the Asian side of the market, and you know, Nika from the Barrel is what started me. Like I loved that. That was so good. I love Nika from the Barrel. But then I got into Kavalan, and I started getting into all of these other Asian whiskeys. They're doing a great job. I mean, in all honesty, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your thought on that side of the world when coming to blending whiskey, making whiskey? I mean, I started to fall in love with it.
It's a very unique flavor, and I enjoy it. I can actually honestly say, when someone says, "What's your favorite whiskey?" all of it.
Yep.
Because they're all different.
That's great.
They're all unique.
Yeah.
You know, I can't say, you know, of course there's going to be one-offs of, oh, I would never drink that. Like my personal taste, I don't enjoy Jack Daniels because I don't enjoy the Tennessee Method flavor. I think it's a little off-putting to my palate. Others, they think it's great.
I agree.
More power to them.
I mean, if you mix it with a bunch of Coca-Cola, it's great.
Right. And then I try all the time, hard as I can, to enjoy Dickel, but it always tastes like Fred Flintstone's vitamins to me.
Yeah. I have fun with that word.
Dickel?
There was one holiday party where I was drinking Dickel, and I got a little tipsy.
Yeah.
Going hardcore.
Started talking too much about the Dickel.
Hey, you want to try my Dickel? Come on now.
I even just recently I said, okay, I'm going to try again. I'll get some 17-year Dickel. Yeah, that's aged Flintstone vitamins.
They've been sitting in your medicine cabinet for 17 years.
We had this. It's over there on the shelf. So we had this. Larry and I got talking before the show on Wednesday, and I was like, dude, there's a lot of stuff at this bar that's like really old. I'm like, wait, Larry. I'm like, somewhere there was this whiskey that came in a plastic bottle that had pictures of fish all over it. And I look way up in the right-hand corner, and there's my early times whiskey that came in a plastic bottle. I'm like, dude, we got to try it. So before the show, I wish we had recorded it because it was absolutely hilarious.
Oh, my God. How much of that plastic leached into the freaking whiskey?
Just like yeah, I probably took a couple of years off my life, Larry and I drinking it. But so I pour it in the glass, and he's like, just a little bit, because I don't think this is going to be really good. Right. And then I'm like, we should let it breathe. So we're kind of like joking. We should let it breathe. It's been trapped in this plastic bottle for I don't know how many years. And then I'm like, we should open it up, and we put like one ice cube each in it. And then we kind of sniffed it, and I was like, smells like feet. He's like, I get Pine Sol. I'm like, Pine Sol and feet. And we taste it. I'm like, it tastes like Pine Sol and feet, dude. Like, it was,
man.
That was all plastic.
I'm like,
you were drinking plastic.
Yeah, but I'm like, dude, the best part about this is we suffered through this. Whatever we drink after this, it's going to taste fantastic, no matter what it is.
Feel
like even Dickel. I bet you Dickel after that would have tasted great. So when you come here,
have you ever thought of
I saved some, Jim.
Done with that.
So, Jim, when you come here, you can try some early times whiskey.
Okay.
It's like, okay, great. Thanks, Paul.
I love it. You know what you could do is you can get your wine aerator and pour it through the wine aerator.
Yes, I've done that. Yes. So for lower end stuff, like I said, I try not to. I don't keep much of a collection, right? But I try and get my bourbon, like regular, like Elijah Craig seems to be my, like, responds well to this as my everyday kind of, like, I just want a glass before I go to bed, and it's more just to help me relax and sleep than it is to like have a flavor experience. But I want it to taste good at the same token. But I don't want to dip into my good stuff, because if I end up falling asleep before I finish it, I'm going to be really mad.
Right.
So but aerating it, Jim, I got to get back to that. I haven't now. Are there special aerators for whiskey versus wine? Like, is there a difference, or can you use any aerator for either?
I'm a total nerd, and I bought both, and there's no difference.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's
good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
I was actually highly disappointed.
Yes. Because I've seen them. I'm like, wait, how could it mean you're aerating a spirit or a wine? Like, how could it be different?
It just does the function.
The big thing is you can go, I only use this one for whiskey, and I only use this one for wine. Right?
Agreed.
And the two should not combine.
There you go.
Agreed.
They don't touch each other, yeah. So you talked about Elijah Craig kind of being your everyday carry when it comes to whiskey.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
See, that's Woodford Reserve for me. That's my everyday carry.
I've done Woodford. I've done Maker's Mark, Elijah Craig. Those kind of all fit in a similar, Jim, I don't know if you agree, right? Fit in kind of a similar category, kind of mass produced, everyday, similar price range kind of whiskeys.
I think anything from Heaven Hill is fantastic. Even that nice yellow bottle, it just says corn on it.
Yeah.
Even that is actually pretty good.
Sure. I was telling Larry on Wednesday, too, the one that dips below that for me is Larceny. Larceny bourbon, when I put it through my process, I was like...
so maybe that's it, because I tried Larceny, and it just had too much bite on the back end. Way too much.
It didn't respond well.
No.
The high-proof Larceny is pretty good. The low-proof watered down, no.
Okay.
No bueno, yeah. Yeah,
Jim, there's speaking of like low, middle, high kind of end, I have this like scale where it reaches a tipping point for me where if I'm spending over $300 on a bottle of whiskey, I don't know that I necessarily can taste the difference enough to warrant the price, right? And I've done the flights and I've tried it, and I'm just like, at a certain point, I'm kind of like, I don't really taste the difference. Have you developed your palate enough and do you think that's a thing where you have to develop your palate enough to tell the difference?
Yes. What's funny is I had a really bad infection, a nose infection. What do you call it?
Sinus infection.
Yeah.
Sinus infection. Thank you. And the doctor prescribed to me these things that go in your nose. Psh, psh,
Yeah,
whatever they are.
yeah.
Nasal spray.
And my wife looked at me and says, "You don't want to do that." I go, "Why?" She goes, "Because it contains zinc and it's going to kill all of your taste buds for at least a year. You're just going to have to suffer through having a sinus infection."
A year?
Yeah, zinc is
Yeah,
bad.
'cause she went
Zinc will deaden
that
your.
long,
yeah,
though?
yeah,
Wow.
it
Yeah.
will.
And so I did. I didn't take it. It still sits in the box on the shelf, and I suffered for another 2 weeks, just because I didn't want to destroy my taste buds.
Yeah,
Wow.
because then it's time to build those taste buds back and
Right.
build back those connections in your brain, right? We talk a lot about that with
Yeah.
cigars. We
Right,
did like a whole episode, right, where we talked about largely how you make that. Like when you eat or drink anything, you should be adding it to the like tables of database in the database in your head, going, that's lemon, but it's lemon that's been slightly singed and it's on the rim of the
Right.
glass. Like I gotta make a note of that. Like I have to really focus and concentrate on it to get that entry in my brain, so that if I pick up on that note in something else, I already have that association. And the larger you build your database,
Right.
you know, back to
Right,
Jim's
right,
point, like
right.
you've developed your palate so that you get into those really higher end stuff, you can really tell a difference.
And then, of course, when I had COVID 2 different times, I was really scared that was going to affect my taste buds, and luckily it didn't.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
So since it's St. Patrick's Day, let's talk about Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
I have
go to-
questions on the spots. So I went out and I finally bought a green spot. Right? I've never tried.
Jim had
I've never tried the spots.
Oh, Jim had a spot though that was a special spot.
Talk to me about the spots and how special the spots are. And is that a gold spot? Oh boy.
Was green, yellow, and gold?
Where is
Is
it?
that?
Where is it? Where is it? I can't even
There
see
you go.
it.
We can see
There
it.
it is.
Yeah, we got it. Nice.
Yep. Green
Okay.
spot 9. Yeah. Talk to me about the spots. I mean, I'm starting with green. That's I bought that because I've never tried it before. But talk to me about the difference between the spots.
You know, I think I'm not an expert when it comes to the spots, other than my palate.
Yep.
I enjoy the green spot, but my favorite now is gold.
Okay.
Is that
and
a step
gold-
above? Is that a step above the yellow?
Yes.
So
Okay.
is it green, yellow, gold? Is that how it goes?
Yes.
Got it.
And it's a 135th anniversary, of Green Spot,
Yep.
et cetera, et cetera.
What's the history behind it? Because I only recently heard of it.
What's the history? I don't know the history of that company.
I mean, it's 135 years old. There was the anniversry, right? So it's been around a while.
Right.
Why am I only hearing about this like within the last couple of years?
Well, Irish whiskey doesn't get as much of the love, I think, from the
Yeah.
whiskey community.
Correct. And I think because, Jameson has always been that bottom shelf
Yeah.
whiskey that, I'm just going to have Jameson. And everyone equates Irish whiskey with Jameson.
Right,
Of
right.
course, Jameson
Marketing.
owns a lot of things as well. Jameson owns Redbreast.
Yeah. Was that a Redbreast 27?
Yeah.
Wow.
How was that? That must be delicious. It looks delicious. Just,
Just by looking at the
just by looking at it, it just looks delicious.
So Paul introduced me to the Lustau, and that
The
is
Lustau is really good.
outstanding. The Lustau is so good. I like it.
So,
So
what are you drinking?
right now we have Glendalough Irish whiskey.
Double barrel Irish whiskey. It is very sweet.
Oh, go on yours. We got to be closer for him.
It's
Let's see.
it's too sweet for my palate.
Oh, nice.
It has a very much like a
What's the
honey,
age?
a honey kind of sweetness.
It was at the liquor store when I picked up the Guinness. So you
Doesn't
said you
say how
wanted
long.
Irish whiskey. I just grabbed it off the shelf. It was like
no, it's cool.
28
I mean,
bucks or something.
that's how you got to. I mean, Jim is a testament to that,
You say
right?
it's
You
too
got to
sweet?
try. You got to try everything to see what you
Right.
like.
You a little. You say it's too sweet, Paul?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got a
it's-
honey, like a
yeah,
heavy
it's-
honey sweetness on it.
Heavy honey, and it's kind of just there. Like kind of like smoking a Connecticut cigar.
Yeah, there's not much else going on. It's got
It's
like a lot
good.
of sweetness. Yeah,
It's good.
But it says aged first in bourbon barrels, finished in Oloroso sherry barrels.
There's your sweetness right
Yep,
there.
right there.
Yep. Spanish
sherry?
Oloroso sherry barrels adds hints of dark, dried fruit and a slight nuttiness.
Yep.
They left out honey from that. But I'm not a big sweet person. Like I'm not a big dessert person. Like I like Bloody Marys and
Right,
dirty
right.
martinis.
Yeah,
and
I'm the same way.
I'm the
So
more of
you
the
don't drink
salty-
Muscat at night?
What is Muscat?
You don't know what muscat is?
No. It has scat in it, which makes me very concerned.
It's a really heavily sweetened white wine.
Oh yeah, I can't do the sweet wines either, white wines or anything sweet.
Does that come from the same as like a Moscato? Is that the same?
It's a Moscato.
Oh, then yeah, I've had it. Yeah, it's way too sweet. Is it? It's like it's good. It tastes good if you ever have a sugar fix. But
I add that to my jungle juice to give it some sweetness.
yeah,
The jungle juice. So a buddy of mine just got back from Ireland, and he ended up going to the Bushmills distillery. He said it was absolutely awesome there.
Have you been to distilleries outside the U.S., Jim?
I have been to Kavalan in Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to distillery in Canada, but that doesn't really count though. So I have not done anything in the UK or Ireland, and that is something a friend of mine, Scott Thomas, you know who Scott is.
That name rings a bell.
He just moved to Ireland from the US. I have an open invitation now to go and stay with him, and we can go on a bunch of tours. He lives in Ireland now, and
Well, thank you so much for actually telling me how to pronounce Kavalan, because I was calling it Kavalin like a New Englander in the beginning. And he was like going, "What are you talking about, kid?"
It's hard to pronounce things.
Kavalan. All right, I got it. It's in the database now.
I could never pronounce Mizunura for a long time, and that was one of those words that's
Yeah.
We do that a lot with cigars. Jim, how did you get into cigar smoking?
Okay, so I was a cigarette smoker from like age 14 to 30 something. And then I stopped. And I would occasionally have a cigar here and there. And then in 2017, on Instagram, this guy hits me up and says, "Hey, your office is really close to my house. I'd love to come over and give you a couple cigars and, share a pour with you." Sure. So he came over to the office and he brought a bunch of Davidoff cigars. And that started my journey right then. His handle on Instagram is Davidoff Guy. And he probably has 100 times more cigars at his house than I do whiskey at home.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I can easily see that your collection growing. I've smoked
And
a
then,
lot. See, I slowed down collecting, but I kept smoking at a pretty good clip. So my collection is dwindling.
During COVID, he felt bad because, not bad, but he was a really nice guy. And I would get a text message from him and he'd say, "Hey, I dropped something at your front door." I go to the front door and there's a gallon-sized plastic bag with some humidor packs inside of it and filled with all sorts of cigars. I'm like, what the hell?
Got the mail bomb.
Like
I love the mail
cigars in
bombs.
here.
That's awesome.
Mail bombs are the best. I love that. I love that. It's so exciting.
So I started trying a bunch of different things, and maybe a friend of mine calls it bougie. I really enjoyed Davidoff's.
Yeah,
I think
it seems to be your favorite.
consistency-
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And it seems I see a lot of pictures of the Davidoff cigars on your social media, Jim, and that seems to be your favorite. And I think I'm right there with you, man. I think something to be said for. I mean, we try a lot of different cigars here on the show, but consistency. I mean, the price point is up there, but I'm rarely disappointed.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember, Paul, at one point in time, you would ask me that same question early on, like 4 years ago, when I first started joining like BSW and being on the podcast. You had said, when did you actually start smoking cigars? And my answer to you was, I don't know, sometime in the military.
Yeah.
Well, a buddy of mine sent me a picture, 1998, us out in the desert. And what does Albuquerque have in his hand? A fucking cigar, dude. So sometime around there. So in the Marine Corps, somewhere around 1998, I started smoking cigars.
That's hilarious.
So I got picture to prove it.
Yeah, I remember around that same time I was in a school trip to Belize,
Yeah.
And my professor was awesome. And so like all bets are off, right?
Sure.
He's like, I don't give it. He's like, you guys can drink and smoke. What? I mean, it was the 90s too. So and I remember being at the hotel on the way home and they had Cuban cigars and smoking a Cohiba, you know.
There you go. There you go.
It's awesome.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, somewhere around 1998, my friend.
So this guy, Davidoff guy, I'm a member of a few different cigar lounges, and it's kind of unique, I guess, here in California, in that certain cigar lounges can serve or sell beer, wine, and hard liquor, and some of them have a bar as well as a cigar lounge combined. You know, you think California would be the nanny state. It is, but there are some exceptions. So like this lounge I'm a member of, this particular one, Placentia, they have a beer wine license, and I go there every Thursday night. That's our Thursday night crew. There's about 20 of us that come and hang out.
Nice.
And Paul, Davidoff guy, brings, you know, these giant Pelican cases. They're massive. And he comes in toting 2 of them, you know, lays them down. And he's just like me with whiskey. He wants to share because he knows he can't smoke everything.
You can't.
It's impossible.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, I don't smoke a cigar every day. Because when I'm with family or on weekends or vacation or whatever, like when I'm sick, I'm not smoking. So it's not every day. And you've got 5,000-6,000 cigars, like estimated. It's probably lower than that now because I haven't been adding as much. I've been smoking. But I'm like, I could smoke a cigar every day for quite a long time. But then you're adding as you go. And so to your point, Jim, like, you're not going to smoke all the cigars in your collection.
Right.
Right.
It's funny. My daughter and I, during COVID, calculated of all the spirits that were open and guesstimating how much was in each bottle, how long would it take Jim to drink all of it at 2 ounces a day? It was 38 years.
Oh, my God. And that's just the open bottles.
And that's just the open bottle.
Oh, my Lord.
I want to know when you're at the doctor's office and they ask you, so do you consume alcoholic beverages? Like, what do you say?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't take blood because it's all bourbon.
I also tell my neighbors, if you see a fire in my house, don't attempt anything. Just run.
Seriously.
Yeah,
right. Oh my God. So what'd you think of the firecracker, man?
I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't like wow me or anything, but the firecracker was good.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I do like it. I think if you're doing a round robin of quote unquote Candela cigars
Right.
on the market, it could be in top 2 for me.
Yeah.
Ever top 2.
Oh,
Yes.
nice. So yeah, we're smoking the United St. Patrick's Firecracker, Ecuadorian Oscuro and Candela wrapper because it's the barber bowl, Nicaraguan binder, Nicaraguan filler, and production was 300 boxes, only 6,000 cigars.
Yeah.
See, I like this one better already. La Flor Dominicana Double Claro 50 with it's an Ecuadorian wrapper apparently, but it's a Claro wrapper. Candela wrapper.
Candela wrapper, yeah.
I have one more of these. Who wants it?
Give it to Jason.
Oh,
I've actually had that. Or I've stole it from you. So
Probably.
over the years.
Thanks, my brother. Thank you.
You know,
I appreciate it.
I've been there since 2017. I'm sure I stole it at some point.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, Jim, when it comes to Scotch, I want to talk about the smoky and peatiness. Because I personally, I can't deal with a heavily smoked or peaty
Me either.
whiskey. Is that an acquired taste? Like what's going
like
on
everything
there?
else, it's an acquired taste, right? I don't like beets, but I'm sure you guys do.
Oh, dude, beet salad is one of my favorite
Really?
meals
Oh, I
in the
don't like
world.
beets.
Like I am a carnivore. Like I love my.
You have not been to the
It tastes like
restaurants.
dirt. 100% tastes like dirt.
Oh my
You're
God.
absolutely correct.
Like but like
100%
it has
dead
to
on.
be like top notch goat cheese that it's served with, and then I will eat beet. Like for me to like make beets at home, or I usually only get it when I go out, and I have a beet salad. But yeah, you're right. It's pickled beets are a thing. I'm not so much into that either.
dirt. Yeah, like I tried what is it, Bunnahabhain? and it was like licking a log from a fire. That's what I could. It's just too much woody, peaty. Burnt.
Well, the smoky and peaty.
It was like
smoky
burnt.
and peaty are two different things.
It tasted burnt to me.
That's
tasted
smoky.
Like something burnt.
Yeah.
So it is an acquired taste. You have to enjoy. If you like standing over a barbecue and inhaling the smoke from the burning embers, sure, smoky peaty is great. I love it. I think it tastes great. I think it adds a complexity that doesn't exist in regular bourbon and regular American whiskey that is unusual. It's sort of like comparing tequila to mezcal.
Yeah.
You know, mezcal is that smoky flavor as well. My favorite would be the Octomore 7.3, which is 380 phenols per million, I think it is, which is actually the highest ppm whiskey out there. Well, if you can find a bottle.
Wait, so is that a measure of the smokiness of it?
Yeah, the phenols that are inside the liquid itself.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know they could measure that.
Right, me either.
So if you look on the side of some bottles, you'll see a ppm number, and like Peat Monster is only 110, I think it is. So if you think, Ardbeg is like that powerful aroma, well, no, my friend, there is much bigger.
Interesting. Yeah, I like a light smoke in peat. Like I like there to be a hint of it, but not overpowering.
I think if you tried the Brook Lodge Expressions, the Octomore ranges, I think you'd find it. Yes, it has that nose to it, but like the 7.3, or is it the 8.3? I forget which one it is off the top of my head. You get that huge punch. If I open a bottle, my wife knows I'm within 5 minutes in the house.
Yes, yes.
From the next room over.
Yeah,
right, from 2 rooms over.
But yeah, like if I bring it into bed, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sit and watch a show. I'm gonna sit in bed and watch a show and have a glass of scotch, and it's got any of that smoky peatiness.
Yeah.
My kids and my wife are like, my kids will be in the bed and they're like, what do you have? What is that smell?
So was I just trying? Was I just trying the wrong scotch? I mean, again, the only one I really tried was that.
Hold on, I'm gonna get some more beers, and I'm gonna get one that has a little bit of smokiness that I think you might like.
Right,
we might have tried it before too.
Did you get some beers for us too?
Some what?
Beers for us too?
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
I said beers plural. They were
Right.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
So that's the only. That's the only.
Too?
Yeah.
Oh well,
It'll be there in 3 days. So Bunnahabhain is the one I tried. That's how you pronounce it, right? Bunnahabhain?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where is that on that scale? I'm not drinking early times plastic bottle. No thanks.
Oh yeah, nice.
No thanks.
That's like a 100 ppm. It's it's up there,
Yeah.
but it isn't like the biggest punch of all.
Got it.
But like I was saying about this Octomore, even though it's 380 ppm on the nose, it's like drinking an orange. It's
Really?
sweet. It's citrusy. It has this complex flavor to it that
Octomore. All right.
doesn't exist.
I'm gonna have to try it. I'm gonna have to try it. So what? Let's see. This is what Paul just brought in. Speyside. It's what is this? Benramach?
Yeah. I
believe
believe that's how you
Benramach.
pronounce it.
I'm trying to see if there's a ppm on this. 10-year Benramach.
I
Well,
tell you what,
that's-
for a 10-year, that stuff's amazing. It's like $60 a bottle.
Oh, wait, here it is. Wait, this is one of them. So like this one, this Octomore right here,
There we go.
it's only 118 ppm
Okay.
and 62.1% alcohol. And then this one, which is from a few years ago, this one is only 107, and it's the Octomore 10.1.
Now, see, I hadn't heard of the Octomore until I saw you post that, Jim.
And their Bruichladdich is really cool because they go to all the farmers and they say, hey, we want this particular grain in 3 years from now. Plant it for us. And then it's planted, it's harvested, they make their spirits, and then 5 years later is when that product comes out.
And the process for, we've talked about it years ago on the show, but the process for making whiskey, it starts out the same way you make beer. You take some kind of barley or wheat or some kind of crop, corn, right? Like there's a whole different, just like beer, right? You've got wheat, you've got barley, and then also you have corn as well. And you basically boil that. And then rather than making beer and fermenting it, you're distilling it. You're putting it in a distill, it comes out clear, and then you put it in a barrel.
Correct. I mean, and it's actually more complex than that when you figure that the actual distillers own or have long-term contracts with specific corn growers or specific grain growers that, I only want a specific moisture content in the corn, right? And I only want a certain size. So if you take a tour, like you go to Michter's, they'll outline exactly the size corn that they want, how old it has to be, the moisture content. And when the trucks pull up, they go out there and they measure each and every truck. They stick those long sticks in it and they pull out a whole bunch of corn and they test every single piece. And they go, oh, I found too much particle in there. We refuse the whole container.
Wow.
So it isn't like, they just dump a whole bunch of corn off and they deal with it. No, they're very, very specific.
Yeah. Does corn get a bad rap for being like the grain that people use?
I don't think they get why would you think they get a bad rap?
Well, I think it gets a bad rap in vodka, where people think, well, vodka comes from potatoes. I'm like, well, some vodka does, but they actually use all different kinds of grain, corn being one. And they kind of like, well, corn-based vodka is just, the everyday stuff. But potato-based vodka tastes like potato. Like it has a potato kind, and you use that in specific spirit. Like if you were to make a martini with a potato-based vodka, like it would be a thing, and you may or may not like it depending on what else you're putting in that martini.
I think it's Belvedere in Poland that actually has like 8 different grain whiskeys that you can purchase. They have rye or not whiskey, vodkas.
Yes.
So you could buy a rye vodka. You could buy a wheat vodka. You can buy and actually I think they did one year an amaranth vodka. And you can make vodka from any grain. It's just a grain neutral spirit. That's really all it is. That's been distilled at least 3 times.
So vodka is whiskey before it hits the barrel, essentially, right?
Right, but it's heavy on one grain. It's heavy on one grain, a single grain.
Okay, I gotcha.
Right, and then it has to be clean, so it has to be distilled at least 3 times.
Right. I gotcha. Hey, can you pass that whiskey over there? Not the early times. And so when did bourbon get so popular? Or did it get popular for us when we started going to DerbyCon? So for our Stogie Geeks listeners, Jim and I and many of us are good friends with Dave Kennedy, who created the security conference in Louisville, Kentucky, which is a very awesome town, especially for things like bourbon.
I think it goes back to the question you asked earlier. I think there was that moment of that happy moment from, and I think I have to Google this. It was Matthew McConaughey handing out to friends. I think that started the push, but I think in InfoSec in general, I think as DEF CON aged and became more mature, instead of drinking everything possible under the sun, as we got older, our palate became more refined. And And I think that also helped our perception of the bourbon industry in the U.S.
Yeah.
Because we went after higher end things. We went after cleaner taste, things that you savor for a longer time. I'm not ordering a 5-gallon pitcher of Long Island iced tea. And walking around strapped to my neck and sipping off of it.
But the careers also allowed for you to be able to afford the higher end stuff.
No, it's a great point. No, it's a great point.
I mean, you matured mentally, you matured with your palate, but your bank account matured as well because you were further along in your career. Now you could afford the better things.
When you first come out of college or college age, right? Not saying that you would have had to go to college, you have to go to college, but when you come on that age, you drink like you're still in college, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Right, and your budget reflects that because you're getting started,
right?
And you're absolutely correct. You start to mature over time in a lot of ways, and one of those is appreciating fine spirits and cigars,
and being
too.
able to afford them. I mean, at the end of the day.
The 17-year-old me, I graduated boot camp. Our boot camp is in Cape May, New Jersey. Went to my first duty station. I was 17 and a half. I was in Portsmouth, Virginia. And at that time, the drinking age was 16. And they had just passed the federal law that said to get federal highway funds, the states had to raise their drinking age to 18. So if you were already of the drinking age, you were grandfathered in.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And there was a dive bar, local watering hole about 2 miles from the base where I was at, where my ship was at, and they had a $5 deal where if you bought, you get 2 pitchers of beer and a steak for $5.
Wow. It must have been some steak.
You're an E3 making like no money. I think
Seriously.
my paycheck was like $300 a month, or it was some tiny amount.
Right.
$5. Hell yeah, I'm gonna go drink 2 pitchers of beer and eat that steak.
Right. Even if it's a flank steak, whatever.
Yeah. Right. Steak,
yeah, air quote steak.
That's it.
No, that's great. Yeah, I think bourbon's been interesting for me. I think it really was DerbyCon that really opened my eyes up to a lot of the different types of. I had no idea bourbon was that big till I started going to Louisville. It was John Strand's like, dude, you got to come with me to like this. There's a restaurant and a fancy hotel there. What's it called? I can't think of it. It has a speakeasy in the basement. What is that hotel in Louisville now?
Oh,
I know
what it's still on 4th Street, but it's down
to the right, I think.
Right. Yeah.
And they had a speakeasy, but they also had a restaurant. And it's like, dude, we got to try like all the bourbons at the and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I went to the speakeasy, and then we had to both get up the next day and give a presentation. I'm like, dude, I have a banging headache. We showed up at the conference. We're like, we need some kind of cola and ibuprofen stat.
So my first Derby wasn't number 1; it was number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there. It was 2 of us from the company, and I brought 20 bottles with me. And I had my little table set up, and my idea was nothing there, no marketing material, nothing. All I was going to do was give up free pours.
Mm-hmm.
And that lasted for about half a day until the hotel went, no, you can't do that. So the bottles went below the table, but we still did it.
I think I probably visited your booth multiple times during DerbyCon too. Yes.
And then I decided, hey, we need to do this in a suite.
Mm-hmm.
So DerbyCon 3, we rented a suite in the hotel, and I brought 100 bottles. Ooh. I shipped a giant Pelican case and shipped 100 bottles out there. And then DerbyCon 4, I decided, let's go even bigger. I rented an RV in California, and I put 450 bottles in the RV.
Wow.
And there was 5 of us, and we said, we're going to drive nonstop from California to Louisville, and we're just going to rotate drivers. If you're not driving, you have to be asleep.
Yep.
And,
Right.
And we highly illegal. Don't recommend this. Kids, don't do this. It's 2:00 in the morning.
Don't try this at
home. You're driving down the highway and you go, okay, I got to go to sleep. And someone comes up to the front and you do that little swap.
Oh, so you didn't even
still in motion.
You didn't even stop. You were just going.
Just go. Just go. We actually, Evan was driving. I think it was Evan. Evan was driving, maybe an Ethan. And it was like 3:00 in the morning in New Mexico, and we hit a coyote. I mean, it ran out into the road, and Evan goes, "Holy shit!" And then you hear clunk clunk.
Keep going, no time to stop.
Right. He goes, Jim, what should I do? I said, just keep driving.
Keep going.
If there's damage, there's damage. There's nothing we can do about it. We're in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico.
Right.
Oh my god, that's great.
And so were these all employees of yours that were?
Yeah.
And so you guys just kind of swapped out and.
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't much drinking of the bourbon if you had to wake up and.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. How do you think they fell asleep?
That's right. This is true. That's awesome.
That's great.
How long did it take you to drive across country doing the hot swap,
Hot swap.
cross
Totally
country?
hot
It's hot
swap.
swapping.
I don't remember the exact time on the way there, but I remember on the way back.
Mhm.
So on the way back,
You were all pretty tired from the conference. We're all tired
all
after.
pretty
a
It
conference.
felt way
tired,
longer
but-
on the way
Yeah.
back.
but let's just say I got amped up, and I drove 16 hours straight before someone relieved me.
Wow.
And we got home within a day and a half on the way back.
Wow. That's not bad.
No, that's. It sounds like I'm gonna date myself. Cannonball Run.
Yeah.
If you ever saw the
Yeah,
movie.
totally. Right.
It's like Cannonball
So you're
Run.
driving an RV. You can only go so fast in an RV.
Well, we were doing 60, 65.
Yeah. In an RV, that's pretty.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Would you do it again?
in a heartbeat.
That's awesome.
We did it the following year as well. But the following year we went through we meandered. We left way earlier, and we went a different route. We went through Nashville. We stayed in Nashville, and then came up.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Did you
Nashville.
have a
Nashville's so fun.
pre-programmed route when you did that, or
Yeah.
I got you. So
Yeah.
everyone has to follow the same GPS, basically.
Correct.
Gotcha.
I remember one year we did follow us the DEF CON trip. So this isn't like in 2009. We live streamed us in our 3 vehicles that we drove from Orange County to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that trip, the Vegas trips, we seem to bring a lot more bottles than we brought. So like
16
last year, I got the presidential suite, and it was a 6,500 square foot suite, in the Venetian,
Mm-hmm.
and bigger than my house. Huge place, and we brought 700 bottles, and we came home with 50.
Wow.
Oof.
That's a party.
Yeah. It lasted from 3 p.m. until 3 a.m.
That is one heck of a party. And you bring do you bring higher end stuff? Like, how do you select what to
Oh yeah,
bring?
we had all sorts of. We had Scotch, American whiskey,
Mhm.
Taiwanese, Japanese, high-end bourbons, and then we had set up on tables. So this table was Scotch, this table was bourbon, this table was American whiskey, etc. And there's no charge. Anyone could come. The only requirement the hotel put on us was we couldn't have more than 300 people in the room at one time.
Whose job was to count the people in the room?
We had some volunteers.
Nice.
Yeah, I was saying, if you gave me whiskey, I would volunteer for that.
Right.
No problem.
Be the head counter.
Yeah.
So, Jim, what's some of the? Let's not start with rare, because I want to reserve rare stuff for a different thread. But just highest price stuff, and like how does that stuff compare? Because I've always wondered, like, you and I drank some pretty high end stuff when we were at the dinner, right? Like, I'm always curious how the let's say $1,000 plus bottles drink compared to, you know, my Elijah Craig that I'm putting in the decanter with the laser cut things and then, you know, putting through the wine, what did we call it? The aerator.
The aerator.
Well, I guess that really depends. Are we comparing the secondary market price or the retail price?
Well, that's a good point.
Right.
That's a good point. Let's compare
You know-
retail price just to keep things kind of sane because we know
Okay.
how the other prices can be crazy.
Okay, so the retail price of, let's say, a Michter's 10-year right now is $150.
Yeah.
That's
That's
the retail price.
and that's just aged, I'm sorry, longer than a regular Michter's because regular Michter's is actually
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, it's a 10-year single barrel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we're comparing retail prices only, of course, Pappy Van Winkle 12-year, you know,
Right.
at 80 some odd dollars is going to beat a Michter's 10 at $150.
Yeah, I agree. The value at retail price you get from Pappy Van Winkle is astonishing. It's astonishing.
Correct. But you'll never, 95% of the population of the U.S. will never be able to buy at retail.
Right. That's but what a great thing they created for themselves. Right? If you want Pappy Van Winkle, you're like, this is great.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? Like the demand
But
is
the
so high,
downside is-
you can command
But
any
the
price.
downside is they don't see the benefit from it, right? They sell, you know, that
Right,
$90 bottle that's retail, they
That's
sell
right,
it to a
that's right.
distributor for 40 or 45 bucks, you know, and then they see in the secondary market it's $2,000.
Right.
That's a lot of money lost.
That's a big gap.
Yep.
Big gap.
So what was the question again?
Like high end scotch, let's say. Like how does it taste at that price point when you've got over $1,000 a bottle, and how does that compare to everything else on the market? Even if it's just scotch. Let's just say just scotch.
Okay. How much is a Macallan 25?
I think it's like $5,000 a bottle. I think we looked it up recently. I think it's about $5,000 retail. I don't know if that's
Retail.
inflated or not, but if
So-
you look online, some are higher, some are lower. I'm like, it's about $5,000.
If Jason or Paul were to go buy it, it'd be $5,000.
It'd be $5,000.
There's that huge difference between that Macallan 18 and the Macallan 25. There is a taste difference. It is very unique. And then it comes down to how much you think that uniqueness is worth.
Right.
I won't admit that I bought one because, again, my wife may be watching.
It was a gift. Let's just say someone
it
was
was a
very generous.
He found it on the side of a road.
He only charged me $100 for this bottle.
I got a great deal, or someone gifted it. Okay, so you've acquired some Macallan 25. I mean, is it
Right.
worth the price? Is it worth what people would pay? Not that you paid that.
For an average person, it's not worth it. I think there are plenty of other juices out there that are just as wonderful and unique in flavor. You know, the 18 is pretty readily available, and to me, the difference between the 18 and the 25, isn't worth that price jump.
Yeah.
Right. And even when you go into bars and you say, "Hey, I'd like a pour of that Macallan 25." Oh, that's $800.
Yeah.
What?
What? Do you know how many bottles of bourbon you can buy for $800?
Right. And that's only a 1 ounce pour? What are you talking about?
Right. So what's a Macallan 18 going for these days? 300 to
300-ish,
400
yeah.
300 to 400 it looks like. Yeah, between 300 and
Yeah.
400.
And I think the same issue is with the bourbon side. You know, the NDPs are a great example of this. So some NDP, some non-distiller producers, they buy from the same source, let's say MGP, which a number of them do, High West included. And let's say they only curate. They don't do a secondary whatsoever. They only curate. They select a barrel that they want, and then they dump it and they fill bottles and they sell it, right? There are two companies that I know, and I won't say their names. One initials is OC, and the other one is CE. And OC charges $300 for this bottle, and CE only charges $50 for it, and it's the exact same barrel.
Wow.
So they're basically middle companies that buy the juice and resell it. And some of them put it in their own barrels, some don't. They're just basically the middle company in this scenario.
So like Cat's Eye has a lot of great juices that come from MGP.
Mm-hmm.
And some hit or misses as well. And really what you're buying into when you go to an NDP that only curates is you're saying that I really enjoy Mark Carter's palette. That's the stuff I really enjoy. And I can trust that whatever Mark selects is going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And George, or whatever his name is over at CE, has a different twist on that and enjoyed a different barrel. Maybe from the same distiller, but it's going to be a different flavor. So I think that the high-end stuff is so hard for the common person to grasp the prices, to get into that realm, to even try it. And to be very honest with you, really the reason I have a huge collection is I want to share. The whole, every event I go to, I take high-end things with me, and I want people to try it. I want them to be able to go, hey, I don't taste the difference between this 20-year Pappy and William LaRue Weller. I don't have enough of a palate to try to know the prices and to know the differences between them. And even William LaRue Weller, it's a $150 bottle, but it goes for $1,000 right now.
I guess that's always the question: is like, is it worth it?
Right.
And that's part of why I have this is if you find me at a conference, I'm gonna have something, and all you have to do is ask.
and see, that's me. Like, I'll drink my Woodford Reserve, but if I know somebody who has a great collection and can teach me and I can learn from that, then I'll definitely try it. And if I love it, then maybe I'll invest, right? But I'm not going to have the collection like I have of cigars, right? For whiskey. I mean, I probably have 60 bottles of whiskey, something like that.
When my daughter was younger, she was really into Breyer horses. I don't know if you guys know what that is. They're model horses that are unique and one-offs, and there's a whole collectible thing around it. It's sort of like Beanie Babies, right?
Yeah.
But it's model horses. And they have once a year this Breyer Horse Fest, and it's in Lexington, Kentucky. And we decided we would take the family out there to surprise my daughter that she got to go to this Breyer Fest. And I convinced my wife. My wife doesn't like bourbon. Doesn't like hard alcohol unless it's a very sweet cocktail. And the one place that she really, really, truly enjoyed and turned her on to testing bourbon was Woodford, because of the way they do their tastings. They paired it with a bunch of different types of chocolate and said, don't drink it right away.
Yeah.
Take this little piece of chocolate, let it soak into your mouth, and then just take a little bit, and you're going to pick up all the nuances
that
are in our bourbon.
Yeah, that's great.
I thought they were going to say they made her a mint julep in that. My wife is the same way with that stuff. Yeah, she likes the sweeter cocktails. Again, it's just everyone's palate is different.
Right.
But there is something to chocolate and chocolate covered fruit or chocolate covered nuts with cigars and spirits and or wine that is just it's a marriage made in heaven. It is just
something about that little bit of sweet.
Yes.
With I'll call it savory, right?
Yes. I need to, for the next Story Geeks, remind me, someone needs to go to Trader Joe's or something and
get a bunch of chocolates.
And Trader Joe's has, because sometimes like this stuff is like a chocolate covered cherry, they're like ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
At Trader Joe's, they're reasonably priced and they're delicious.
So we're gonna have cigars.
We should have a smorgasbord.
Yeah. Cigars and a candy bar.
I think there's something.
I like it.
There's something in your brain when you're testing chocolate with the spirit or chocolate with the wine. after you consume the chocolate and then you consume the wine and you let it sit in your palate, like there's something in your brain that's like, holy crap, I want more. Like it's like it's and
It's like that when I drink whiskey too.
Me too.
Until you pass out, whatever. I saw in a picture you had sent me, Jim, that there was some E.H. Taylor that I've had before. I don't know which one it was, but I remember being at my cigar bar and my friend telling me, like, dude, you got to try it. Like, we have some, you got to try it. And I was like, wow, that was really good.
See, I've never had it, and I've had a lot of people
There are
tell me I
multiple
need to try
E.H.
it.
Taylors?
Oh yeah, there's dozens. Of course, like the 4-grain and the amaranth are really, really difficult to find, if not impossible. And a lot of liquor stores charge way too much for, like, the amaranth. I think it's $3,000 a bottle. They're just marking the price. It's not even secondary. They buy it for $150 and they just sell it for $3,000.
And there are people that have paid that too. That's the
the
kicker.
Yeah. But you also have to look at it from a liquor store perspective. A lot of the distributors go, hey, I'll give you 2 bottles of amaranth, but you got to take 40 cases of this vodka
Right.
that never sell.
Right,
And you gotta
exactly.
take 30 cases of this crappy wine that will never sell. And that's actually illegal. The tying in California is illegal, but has never been truly investigated.
Yeah. No, agreed. It works the same way in cigars, Jim.
yeah,
Same
definitely.
exact way in cigars, and liquor here in Rhode Island is the same exact way.
Yeah,
My friends ran the liquor store.
Yep.
And they were like, that's exactly it. And they had, run the liquor store for so many years. When they sold it, they were like, here's the blueprint. Like, they had to do the handoff of, like, here's the game, right? And here's how you play the game and still come out a winner when you do this. Because you once you've built up the clientele to be able to move that high end stuff, you still got to buy the other stuff. So you got to figure out a way to
There's a
move
science
the other
behind it.
stuff
There's a
or
science.
whatever. Yeah. Sell the
Otherwise,
other sell the other stuff to restaurants, which is illegal in Rhode Island, but everyone does it. Same kind of thing, Jim, right? And sell that to restaurants so they can upcharge or have it be their house wine, like that wine. If I were the liquor store, I would go to the restaurants. I'm like, here's your house wine. There's a really good price on it because I had to buy that in order to get a case of the other stuff that I sold at thousands of dollars a bottle. It's a game.
Yeah. Cigars are the same
It got
way.
so bad that Sazerac and Buffalo Trace dropped their distributor this year.
Oh, wow.
Because they felt that distributor was taking advantage of even them. Because the distributor was telling them not Buffalo Trace and Sazerac products that you had to buy. It was other companies' products
wow.
you had to buy to get an allocation of a bottle.
Right.
And they went, no, time out. If you sold more of our stuff, sure. But if you're selling other people's stuff, no.
And
so I think
Sazerac is a great bourbon. I want to say that I've had. It's a long, kind of tall bottle of bourbon. Am I getting that right?
And it's a rye whiskey.
Rye. Oh, it's a rye whiskey. Okay,
Yeah.
that's really good too. Don't they have is that the one they have like an 18 or something like that?
Yes. Buffalo Trace sells the 18-year.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That's really good
Yeah.
stuff.
The regular Sazerac is great for making Sazeracs.
Right.
I don't think you'd want to dump that $2,000 bottle of Sazerac 18 to make a Sazerac, but you can.
Is it
Or be
$2,000?
like meaning just
Was it
or
always
be like-
$2,000 a bottle?
no. All of the Buffalo Trace antique collection. Comes out once a year, and it has like Handy, it has Stag, it has Sazerac 18, it has Eagle Rare 17, William LaRue Weller.
Eagle Rare. Eagle Rare is the
Rare,
one I was thinking of. Yes.
Yeah.
That's got some good stuff in it too, doesn't it? There's like the regular one and
yeah.
like special ones of that one too.
And the Eagle Rare 17.
That may have been the one that I've had back in the day.
We should do a remote show at his house.
Totally.
I think Jim would be down for hosting that.
I think we should do it.
I would be totally down for it. I basically live on a mini farm. So we have
Oh, even better.
11 horses,
Nice.
20 chickens, 7 dogs, 4 cats, a couple mini horses. We have an arena, and my office building on my property is like 10-foot by 12-foot concrete building that was built here a long time ago, and I converted it. And next to it was a garden, and just this year I ripped out the old garden that had become overgrown and poured a concrete pad. And the goal is when it stops raining here is I'm going to build a nice outdoor smoking, drinking area.
Nice.
With cameras and video equipment so we can do podcasts live from here.
That's awesome.
We should definitely.
I've seen pictures
awesome.
of your progress so far, Jim. Yeah.
So have I. Yeah.
Yeah, you've had to relocate your office, right? You made room in your house for your family,
Right.
and they
Right.
reclaimed some of your space. I totally get that. I did the same thing. It's funny, and we have the same soundproof foam. I have roughly, my space is, I think, maybe 10 by 15.
Yeah, right.
When
Yeah,
we first started recording Stogie Geeks, it's the same thing. But I like it because it's your own space out there.
Right.
Right. Like when I leave for work in the morning, I literally leave my house. I go out to my own little building, and
Exactly.
everyone just kind of stays away. They're like,
Yeah, same thing for me. I mean,
they have free range of the whole rest of the house.
Yep.
So they have no reason to come bug
Right.
me for anything. Yeah.
I converted
Right.
over the garage, right? So over the garage was completely separate. It was like it's supposed to be like an art room kind of thing, up above the garage, completely separated from the house. And once COVID hit, I looked at my wife. I'm like, "Your art room is gone. That's going to be my office and my man room," and it totally converted it into that.
What's funny is before COVID, I only had a couple laptops around the house, and I would go to my office every day, right?
Yep,
And then
yep.
COVID hit, and we moved the physical office for Milton Threat Hunter 3 miles in opposite direction. And then I told everyone to work from home, and then I thought, well, where am I going to work? So
Yep.
I decided to build out an area around the bourbon. So for about a year, I was in the bourbon room, and that was okay, except it got a little noisy at times, family and everyone else. So then I took over the guest room and was in the guest room for a year or so, and then just gave that up recently and moved here. Still in the same property. And, I could go to the office, but really there isn't a big reason to go there, because when I need to meet a customer or I need to go meet some VC, it's never at the office anyway.
Right.
It's at their office.
Yep.
or at the
So-
cigar lounge.
or the cigar lounge. Yeah, exactly. We've had a lot of meetings. The cigar lounge that I'm a member of, there's actually a club room in the back that you can rent out
Yeah.
for like $20 an hour, and you can actually drink, smoke. There's 2 TVs in there. It's pretty cool.
That's the way to do it. We need to do more of that.
For real.
When we have access to 2 lounges here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only downside is that occasionally you'll hear Jerry the rooster go off.
I think that's a nice ambiance. That brings a nice ambiance.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
It was funny because yesterday I'm on a call and Jerry, it's really bad. I taught him a bad habit. When I come out in the morning, I'll bring something delicious for them to eat, because they're free roam chickens, right? So they roam the whole property. And I come down the stairs, and my house is on top of a hill, and the house is up here, and my office is here. So I come down some steps, and they come running up from below, like, "What do you got for us? What do you got for us?" Right? And throw food down. I come in the office and close the door, and I get on a call. And Jerry got mad because I didn't give enough, I guess. He stood outside my door screaming.
Cheapskate. Come out here, cheapskate. Give me some more. I love it. That's great.
Jim, what are some of the unique whiskeys in your collection that aren't easily classified into things like Scotch or Irish whiskey or bourbon? I felt like we kind of talked about ones and we talked a little bit about Japanese whiskey, Taiwanese whiskey, but whiskey is whiskey, right? We just talked about some of the major classes of it. Do you have others?
So you mean the flavored things, the
Is that what we get into after that? I mean,
We're not going to talk about Screwball peanut butter whiskey, okay?
Yeah.
We're not going to go there.
Wait. I love Screwball. Well, don't get me wrong.
I do too, but it depends on what it's in. Like,
Okay, so if you take what is it, Chambord,
yeah,
and it's a 1-to-1 ratio of Chambord to Screwball, it's a peanut butter and jelly,
love it.
oh,
Absolutely love it.
nice.
right? And there's a time and place for everything. I
Yeah,
think.
I mean, peanut butter whiskey and mudslides is outstanding.
Yes, it
that
is.
Outstanding, outstanding.
Well,
I
because
mean, that's
chocolate and peanut butter.
oh my god, so good, so good. But I'm not
There-
gonna
there's a-
grab a glass of peanut butter whiskey and sit here and sip it. No, it's got to be
A
in like a
friend-
mudslide.
A friend of mine, his friend, a friend of a friend, is starting an ice cream company here in Orange County, and it's all alcohol ice cream.
Nice.
So they're taking high-end bourbons and American whiskeys, and they're mixing it and making ice cream from it with
Really?
different flavors.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Probably $35 a cup, but okay.
It is, yes. Yes.
It's California.
but the
It's
other thing
45.
is-
We have tax.
But the other thing
other
is,
$10
her
is
idea
tax.
is she delivers it. So it's like a mini ice cream truck, and it's all,
Wow.
pre-packed,
Yeah.
and she'll drive it to your house and drop it off to you.
Mm.
I feel like delivery in California is very much a thing. Like they kind of a lot of
mastered
things.
it. They've mastered it.
mastered like
Oh,
the
yeah.
delivery aspect. Because I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of the Ubers and Lyfts kind of started in California too. A lot of those delivery services did, I think.
I mean, we have, what is it? Weed Map, Stizzy for those who partake of those leaves.
The
You have-
marijuana.
Yeah, I mean, California pioneered that too.
Totally.
I mean, they
Yeah,
were one of the
big
first
time.
states. To, yeah.
You have the Instacarts of the world. You have there's another local one that does 3 different restaurants. I mean, there's so many delivery services in
Yeah.
California. They're like popping up all over the place.
I'm just starting to check out the Drizzly.
Oh, I
over
like.
here.
I love Drizzly.
Drizzly to get alcohol.
Drizzly can be I hate it because a friend of mine owns a liquor store very close to me,
Yeah.
and he had a bottle of Pappy 12 like 3 years ago, and he'd put it on Drizzly,
Mhm.
right? And it sold. Great. But it's still up on Drizzly. It's showing it's available at his store.
Oh, really?
So he's
getting
orders
hit
and
on
he has
that.
to-
Oh, man.
He has to decline them because
Wow.
he doesn't have this.
Mm.
And he keeps calling Drizzly, and Drizzly says, "Oh, we'll take it off." And he thinks that they do this on purpose
So yes,
Gotcha.
they do.
to attract people to their website.
Wow. Huh.
They definitely do. I've seen that. I've
So now,
witnessed
as
that
a
here.
liquor store owner, you need to sign up to be a Drizzly partner. Is that how that works?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know if that was straight distributor, like if they worked with a distributor, or if they went right to the liquor stores and did it.
But he said, like a 6-pack of beer, if it costs if you go to a store and it costs $5, one Drizzly, he has to say it costs $10 because Drizzly wants 50%.
Wow, that's how much
Correct.
you're taking? 50%?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Sorry, my dog wants to leave now.
Aw.
No worries.
Oh, I love that you keep a dog in your office. But I do that sometimes too. I have mascots in my office.
What do you want?
Attention.
Right.
No, he's going to go to his bed now. He's got his own bed.
There you go. He just wanted to say hi and go back to sleep.
Oh, no, he's been sitting behind me the whole time
Oh, that's hilarious.
on my chair.
It's amazing what we do for our pets.
Oh, yeah.
I do like Drizzly. You pay for it, but there is a certain convenience factor. I don't think you're finding anything rare on Drizzly though.
Didn't you say actually, I think it was the last Stogie Geeks that you found something rare though? You found something that you couldn't normally find. I can't
Was it
remember
rare?
what.
I don't know if it was rare, but
I don't know. I can't remember.
maybe I don't remember.
It was something that you were looking for and you couldn't get. You were having a party with folks at your house,
I did,
and
and
you were like, "Holy shit, I can't find this anywhere!" And I found it on Drizzly.
I don't remember what that was.
I don't remember either.
It's recorded, so it's
Totally,
fine.
we can go back to the archive.
Well, the convenience factor, because when you get a vasectomy, which is why I was ordering Drizzly, you can't lift anything.
Right.
So I'm
Right,
like,
right.
this is perfect because you can't lift anything over 10 pounds, I think was the restriction. And so, I mean, there's a lot of people, if you have any kind of medical procedure, you're not supposed to lift anything, right? This is great because if you're like probably most of us, when you go to the liquor store, you've got a lot of heavy boxes to lift.
Right.
With Drizzly, they deliver it to your house. And I'm like, oh, I can just pick up 1 6-pack of beer,
Yep.
go put that away, pick up 2 bottles of whiskey, then go put that away. So it was convenient for sure.
Speaking of delivery, I have what I call the whiskey genie, and he grew up next to where we lived. When we first moved to Southern California in 2003, I lived in a different part of town, and his father, like my next door neighbor, owned a bunch of liquor stores and grocery stores, and he gave his son one of his liquor stores, and then we moved here, and the whiskey genie, probably every week now, he'll drop things off that I know he knows that I want or I'm looking for. He'll just drop it off, and he'll send me an invoice for it.
That's amazing.
That's great. That's like
I want to
that's like
progress
your
to that
Stogie
level.
Santa. He's got whiskey genie. You got Stogie Santa.
I want to progress to that level in whiskey. I mean, that was kind of one of my questions, Jim, is how do you work to acquire all this stuff? I mean, I think we go through the same thing in cigars and whiskey.
I can't find E.H. Taylor anywhere. I want to try it. I can't find it.
But
anywhere.
I think, Jim, like you said, you got to have friends in the right places.
Yeah, you just got to make friends everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, every city I've gone to, I try and make friends. Make friends with the bartender.
Yeah.
I go to a liquor store. If they have a semi-decent collection, make friends. And I'll even wind up, maybe this may not be 100% legal, trading with these individuals for certain things. Or, hey, you're looking for this and I happen to have it. I'll sell it to you for what I paid for it, which is retail.
Yeah.
And in turn, when something cool comes in, these are the 5 things I'm looking for.
That's awesome.
Think of me.
Yeah.
Right.
See, I do that with cigars, like, because I belong. And again, I mean, are there any Discord servers for whiskey? Because I belong to a ton for cigars, and we do the same. Like, hey, I have this in my humidor. I'll send you these 5 different cigars, and you send me back the 5 that I'm looking for. You know,
Really?
So
We need to-
yeah,
I need to get it.
I do it all the time,
Dude, I've been smoking
all the time.
I've been smoking Tatuaje the Face.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because I have them in my humidor, and I
Right,
know they're not gonna be great if I don't smoke them.
But some people want
and I'm
it,
just
so you can go
I'm
do
smoking them,
tradesies.
and I'm like,
You can go do
I like
tradesies.
smoking these, but I'm like, someone somewhere doesn't have these in their
That's
humidor
right.
that would like go to great lengths to smoke one of these right now.
It's true,
and I'm
though.
just smoking them like first thing in the morning. I'm lighting them up and going to my
It's true,
meetings.
but it's true.
Just smoking.
I mean, a lot of the Discord servers I belong to for cigars, there's like a probation period. They want you to be active. They want you to be in the community. They want you to like actually. But once you pass that probation period, you know, it's wide open. Like I had 2 deliveries this week of people who sent me 5 cigars each. I actually got this cigar dagger from a dude that was a Marine. He gave me the cigar dagger. It's a Marine Corps cigar dagger. I mean, this thing's like $70, and he's like, "I don't use it anymore. It's yours."
so I don't have
Take
time.
it."
I don't have time for that. I'm just going to use you as a proxy.
Well,
I'm
that's
just gonna give you.
fine.
I'm going to give you shit.
I'll only take a little commission.
Take a
It's
little
all good.
Take a little.
Could be a walk
one
off.
Tatuaje the Face for me. You know.
Yeah, that's
5
it. Like
for
I'll
someone
take a
else.
little commission. But is there the same type of community on the whiskey side?
There is, but it's been exploited so much that people are now very apprehensive.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you an example. I was a member of a Facebook group
Yep.
that traded in hard to get items.
Mhm.
And this is 6 years ago.
Yep.
There was a gentleman on there that seemed to sell a lot of Pappy, a lot. I mean, so much so that it eventually, after almost a year, people started getting suspicious
Sure.
and started looking into, you know, where's this guy getting all this stuff, right?
Right.
Long story short, turns out he was buying empty bottles from bars and retailers that had, you know, they're empty, and he was filling it with Barton 1792
Wow.
foolproof or whatever.
Yep.
And then he had bought a sealing machine and an illegal tax stamp apparatus and was selling people what they thought was Pappy,
Yep.
and it was really Barton 1792.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's why Sazerac and Buffalo Trace started laser etching their bottles
Mhm.
and putting date codes on the bottom, making the seals slightly different with hologram. You know, they tried to make it
Sure.
more and more difficult. Well, this guy eventually, he was actually an attorney, in Chicago, and they finally caught him, and he admitted to it.
Wow.
But what are you going to do?
Yeah, and again, I mean, that's why a lot of these Discord servers, they vet you. You're on probation for a while, right?
But that's like the wine guy. Was the documentary really called Sour Grapes? Was it? It was the same thing. It was high-end wines.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking like people spend millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like they would do an auction for a case of wine and it would literally go for $1 million for this case of wine. Like I'm talking ridiculous kind of stuff.
Insane.
And I forget his name. Rudy. His name was Rudy. But he had ties to, I think he was from Singapore, and his family kind of had ties to that kind of, there was some kind of criminal thing that his family had ties to.
Yep.
But Rudy, but he also was a really good wine person to start off with. Like he had, we talked about palates briefly. He had an amazing palate.
Yep.
And he would fake the label in the bottle.
So he had a reputation already. Like
and he would take other wines and mix, I don't want to say blend necessarily, I mean, mix them together and go, I could fool someone with that.
Right.
Because he had a great palate.
But he put a science behind it. He tried to imitate.
Put it in the bottle, and he made millions.
Wow.
And they still, to this day, are unable to trace back all the bottles. They believe that he faked so much wine that they still believe there is a lot.
How did they eventually figure it out?
Really rich people figured out they were getting ripped off. Yeah. It was like a really rich family. I forget the family.
They could afford doing like the scientific tests.
A really, really super powerful and rich family.
Yeah.
One of the family members figured out like something's not right, and went off and like started getting it tested. And then, of course, if you're really super rich, you can afford
the attorneys, and the labs
and all that stuff
to get it done.
to go prove it. And Rudy went to jail. Right. I mean, it was because he.
Wow.
I mean, it's fraud. I mean,
totally, 100%.
The amount of fraud that he committed, like you're spending a ridiculous amount of time in prison, for that much fraud. Yeah, but they eventually figured it out. And again, still to this day, they don't know. And I don't think the stickler of it, which in your collection, Jim, my cigar collection, your whiskey collection, right? Like. You don't, if you knew that you had stuff that was faked in there, would you want to admit it? Like there's some pride to that. Like a lot of collectors are like, I don't know that I would want to say how much I thought was
But if I got screwed out of millions of dollars, I definitely want to.
Absolutely.
I would admit it, and I would go
But there are some
I would go after that person with a fury.
Jim and I would probably be like, nope, if that's fake, like get it out, right? Like if that's a fake Cuban in my cigar collection, I'm get it out. But some of these high-end wine people are like, yeah, well, but I spent $1 million on that case of wine. I don't want to admit that it's fake because I'm going to lose so much money.
Speaking of fake Cubans, this is kind of a funny story. This is during COVID. My neighbor down the street, he owns a construction firm that works on U.S. embassies around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes, he'll go to Jordan, he'll go to Poland, he'll go to India, and they do work on specific type of work inside the embassies, building out rooms and stuff.
Yeah, because you have to have a high degree of trust and clearance to be able to do that. If you look in the history of Russian embassies and U.S. embassies in Russia, oh my God, there's fun stories about that. Yeah,
and he loved smoking cigars, and he loved Scotch, loved it. Mm-hmm. So when we moved in, we became instant friends.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was not very knowledgeable. I'm still not very knowledgeable, but I was less knowledgeable than I am now about cigars. And I did him a favor, and he gave me a whole bunch of Cuban cigars. And I had just met Paul, Davidoff guy, and he said, take a picture of it and send it to me because, let's make sure they're real. And I'm like, wait, they counterfeit cigars?
Oh my God.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Cuban cigars is a huge high degree of counterfeit. Yes.
And he saw the picture and he goes, yeah, that year they didn't make that cigar.
Correct.
They made it 2 years before.
It was the same thing with wine. That's how they got caught on. They're like, wait, that winery vineyard did not produce that wine in that vintage in that year. Yep. Yep.
And then he goes, get a razor blade and just slice it open. Let's do a FaceTime call. Just slice it open. I'm like, wait, you want me to slice a Cuban open? He goes,
It's not a
Wouldn't
Cuban,
you rather
Jim.
know if it's real than
Right,
maybe
right,
full
right,
of bugs or whatever? I'm like,
Fingernails?
wait, it can have bugs?
Yes.
What the hell is that?
Tobacco beetles for sure.
No doubt.
Yep.
And so I got him on FaceTime. I sliced it open. He goes, I can tell you right away, it's totally fake, 100% fake. They
How
would
did
never
he tell-
roll it this way.
Oh, okay. So by the way they rolled it.
Right. The
Interesting.
filling, the wrapper,
Right.
everything.
Well, I've
He's
heard
like,
of
"That's
people
100%
with
fake."
like floor scraps in it, like pieces
Right.
of hair
It was-
and fingernails.
It was basically in the middle. It was all dust. It wasn't
Yeah.
full leaves. It was like just packed
yeah,
with dust.
floor
and
scraps.
wrapped
They sweep up the
around.
floor scraps.
So we call it a Cuban sandwich. It's not necessarily like we call it floor scraps, but an actual Cuban sandwich cigar is what we call short filler. And short filler literally is the scraps.
Yeah,
Because
right.
when you're putting a wrapper on a cigar, as a best example, you're kind of trimming some of the excess to make it look nice on the, much like we trim meat. Like you take your ribs
Yep.
and you're trimming the excess because that's just going to burn on the smoke or that fat's not going to render. And in short filler cigars, that's what they're using as the filler for those cigars. They typically burn hotter.
Yep.
And you get a lot of the what are they, Scooby snacks in your mouth when you
Right,
smoke them, right? You kind of thing. And there's nothing like actual short filler cigars. There is absolutely nothing wrong with. But I think, Jim, what you might have found is like literally they're putting scraps in this, like what swept up from the floor will have dust.
Literally.
Will have,
Literally.
That,
And I think I saved the picture. I'm really bad. I think my phone has 130,000 photos on it.
yeah.
I never delete anything. So I think I have the picture. I'll send it to you guys. I sliced it open, and you can actually see 2 beetles in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
That is definitely a thing.
And
Tobacco-
he goes, don't ever, when someone gives you a Cuban, don't ever put it into your primary humidor.
Mm-mm.
Put it in a bag and have someone check it for you, because most likely, unless that person is an expert, they went and bought, they went to Mexico and they bought, the fake Cubans in Mexico, which I guess I didn't know this. They're all over the place.
Oh, man, I don't think you can. You have to go out of your way to buy an actual Cuban cigar in Mexico. Like 98% of them are counterfeits in Mexico.
Totally. A lot of people told me like if you're traveling overseas, the only reliable place is to go to what is that called? Casa de Cuba.
Oh yeah, there's a
You know what I'm talking about? It's the actual.
It's an
I have a story. Wait. A friend of mine, the owner of Placentia Lounge, just got back from Mexico City, and she said over half at Casa de Cuba in Mexico City, over half of the cigars there were fake.
Oh my God! Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
But she did bring back, which is I smoked it last night, a Cohiba cigarette.
I didn't know they made cigarettes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not cigarette tobacco. It's cigar tobacco that
right.
Basically it's the pieces that were left over that they then put into a cigarette form.
Is it like a cigarette or is it like a cigarillo?
It's like a cigarette.
It's a cigarette, and it has a filter on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah, because what was the company that also made cigarettes? They went out of business. What is that called?
What's the color label?
Mike Herklots. Who did Mike Herklots work for? They made cigarettes.
Oh, he worked for Timeless.
Timeless.
Who did Timeless?
Nat Sherman.
Nat Sherman. Thank you.
Boom.
Yes. So Nat.
right.
Yes.
That's why I'm still here.
Not bad.
Nat Sherman also made
Yes,
cigarettes.
back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, even still to this.
Do they really?
Well, they I don't know the whole story. Recently,
Because now he's
went-
Ferriotigo, right? He's Ferriotigo?
Yeah,
he
he's his own
started.
brand,
He
yeah.
started his own brand,
Yep.
but Nat Sherman also had that big store in New York City that closed down too. Jim, outside of the cigar lounges that you have near your home, what are some of your favorite cigar lounges in the U.S.?
The one in D.C. was phenomenal.
Oh, Shelley's Back Room. Shelley's Back Room. And it's not just a cigar place. Eat and drink and smoke cigars in the same location. Agreed. That's on my top. That's my top list too. Yeah.
I felt like that they were so attentive to us that we basically had personal waiters.
They
that
brought
stood around.
they brought us every single cigar, drink, and food like with fantastic service. We just sat there.
Right.
And cigars and drinks and food just kept coming to the table. It's just an amazing experience. It is.
It was. I haven't been to a lot of lounges. I've been to like 8 in Southern California.
What about in Vegas?
AC.
What about in Vegas when we go to?
What's that new hotel called? Brand new. Shit. There's a brand new hotel that is very upscale and has a lounge there, a cigar lounge there, and a bar. 88 Club 88, 8 something. There's an 8 in it.
Mm-hmm.
I went there 2 weeks ago. God, I can't remember the name of it. That was okay. Cigars were overpriced.
Well, I mean, it's Vegas.
It's Vegas.
Is it one of the newer casinos, like the Cosmopolitan? What's that new casino? Is it Cosmopolitan?
It's brand new. Is it
It's
not the?
I got Power 88. Today's R&B, hip hop, house, and reggae. Sounds like a radio station.
No, not that place.
Club 88 review of Cash Creek Casino. No,
There's 8.
No.
There's 8 Lounge.
Is it the 8 Lounge?
Eight
There's
Lounge.
Eight Lounge.
Eight
There's
Lounge, Las
there.
Vegas.
In the Resorts World.
Yes, that's it.
Got it. 8 Lounge. Yep.
And they actually have Casa Fuente cigars in there as well. So they made a deal with Casa Fuente.
Casa Fuente is one of my favorite lounges.
And I like to go to Casa Fuente. Of course, getting Casa Fuente cigars at Casa Fuente, they are not getting a large number of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they limit you to one cigar. You can only buy one of each type that they have
Really?
per day. Yeah.
That's where I've gotten friendly with the people at Casa Fuente. And I'm
all
like,
our friends.
I have 8 people with me, so therefore I'm going to buy 8 of each of
We're
you,
gonna
each
spend
of
a
your
lot of
cigars.
money.
They're like,
Exactly.
dude, that's totally like they're like, are you here with the DEF CON? I'm like, yes.
I have 30,000 friends.
Yeah.
God.
So yeah.
Well, that's why I hung out with Dave. Was Casa Fuente in Las Vegas.
Nice.
And with Dave Maynard, but also Dave Kennedy as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Both Daves and I have spent time at Casa Fuente. It's one of the. I guess that's why it's my favorite, because of some of the awesome people that I've spent time with at that particular cigar lounge.
And then what's that other one? It's in Caesars.
Well, there's a new one in Caesars.
That's Casa Fuente.
It's a J. No, it's a J. It's a JR's.
Yeah.
It's relatively new. It's right near the sushi place.
Correct.
I miss going to Vegas. Are you going to DEF CON and Black Hat this year?
Of course, I have to. I mean, yes, I am going.
Are you going?
I'm
Paul?
actually planning the VetCon party, both the VetCon party and the whiskey tasting party right now. And you guys are welcome to come.
Are you so you're going to do those in a suite or in a cigar bar, or Monte Cristo Monte Cristo is the one in
That's
Caesars.
Palace. Yeah.
Yeah. So the VetCon party is an official DEF CON party.
Mm-hmm.
So it is with DEF CON.
I gotcha.
Last year was in this giant 12,000 square foot area that they gave me, and we filled it out and all sorts of cool stuff. And we had free alcohol for the first 2 hours. Well, I put up $8,000 for an open bar, and it was gone in 2 hours.
I bet.
That's a better way of putting it.
I can only imagine. I'd be interested in VetCon. I mean, I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, so I'd love to go. I'd love to go to VetCon.
Oh, you would love it. Some years, the earlier years of VetCon were a little more non-politically correct. So the one year we had all sorts of events. One of them was chair force race. So we got 3 crappy office chairs, and you had to have 2 people, one person sitting, another one pushing, and whoever could complete it the fastest won something.
Nice.
and it was a competition of 3 teams at a time, and we had people falling over, flipping in their chairs. We have
Wait, you don't do that anymore? Because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it does.
well, we let me finish. We also had manual of arms with an M1 Garand. You had to remember how to do manual of arms. We had a lieutenant junior grade Navy guy as the referee, the judge.
Yeah.
And then we have had rifle range, and then we had the shooting competition. So each of the services had to be like the Coasties had to have 1 foot in a kiddie pool.
Yeah. The Marines had to have their face in the sand.
yes, stuff like that. No, I love it. The Marines, I think it was shooting backwards.
Oh, nice. you gotta give us a challenge because we can shoot normally like champs. So. I mean, we qualify from 500 yards iron sights. I mean, that's Marine Corps. 500 yards iron sights.
That's challenging for sure. 500 yards.
500 yards.
Good Lord.
Seven-time expert, my friend. 7-time expert.
We had a
yeah, but now you wear glasses and stuff, and you're older.
Now I'm old. It's all the time in front of the fucking screen, man. Jesus.
In 2019, we had an obstacle course, and I rented this giant bouncy / slide, and it was probably 30 feet tall, and so you had to go through the obstacle course and then climb up, get to the top, and then slide down.
Yep.
And that was the one year that we told people they couldn't jump off of the slide. You had to sit your butt down and slide down. And there was an individual who was actually a DEF CON goon, ignored the rule, and he jumped, and he really injured himself.
Oh, no.
So that's when we decided things may have gotten out of control a little bit. Let's start to tone it down.
Well,
it sounds fun to me, so.
So wait, this year, which events are you hosting at Black Hat and DEF CON?
So
Jim?
during Black Hat, there's going to be, we call it the Elite Whiskey Tasting, and that's going to be a smaller setting, and it's going to be 50 invited people, and that's going to have food and high-end bourbon, high-end whiskey. And then during DEF CON is the VetCon party, and typically the day before that is the open to everyone whiskey tasting, and that's 300-400 people will show up, and that will be in some presidential suite somewhere.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's a great way of meeting people. That's how I look at it. It's a great way of meeting people. I've actually met a couple of our current customers because of it. I've met some fantastic people because of it. Made some great connections, and able to help out on the VetCon side, able to help out veterans find jobs.
That's awesome.
I think cigars and whiskey for me, I think, a lot of the public perception of them is it's really bad for you, and we should ban all this stuff, and you shouldn't be able to do it in all these public places. But I think there's those in the know where like cigars and whiskey and how we hang out, meet people, and connect with people, and make friends, together. Right, Jim? I think that's what we're coming down to. I mean, we experienced that at our epic dinner, right? Like everyone at that dinner, we all knew each other through some, even first degree connect. We all knew each other, right? Not even through someone else. We all knew each other in some capacity, but we never all sat down at the table and had cigars and whiskey together, and that brought us closer together.
Right.
And so I think having these events where we can all not just look at each other's 15-second TikToks or send a text message here and there,
right,
to actually sit down for more than an hour and share things like cigars and
enjoy each other's company.
Yes. There is.
Enjoy each other's company.
I want to make sure that future generations don't lose sight of that.
Right? And that's why, every time we do Stogie Geeks, I always make sure that I bring some type of, in our articles, some type of overarching legislation that's happening in the world. I did it again this time. I think I have 3 or 4 articles just on legislation, and it's both sides of the aisle, where they're trying to tamp down on cigars, right? Or You have certain states who are trying to kind of open it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Some of my
it's-
friends are like, hey, like, what are you doing tomorrow? Like, I'm busy tomorrow. Like, I got to sit down with my friends and have cigars and whiskey.
and enjoy each other's company.
And call it air quotes like work. But
Yeah, but-
like, it's a hard job. Someone's got to do it. But, you know, I mean, Jim unfortunately couldn't be here. We'll have to get you out to the studio, Jim, at some point. But yeah, there's just something amazing about getting together, sharing cigars and whiskey.
And that's why, I mean, it's the law of unintended consequences. All this legislation just breaks us apart. It furthers us apart, right?
Yes.
You know, I understand legislation when it's value add to the world and to the community. But when you're limiting people from having individual freedom, that's where I start losing it.
It made sense to me, but it also pissed me off at the same time when I had the realization that legislation that's being passed, politicians are backing that to appeal to their constituents, to appeal to the people that are going to keep them or put them in power 100%. And have nothing to do with public health. No. Like, it has absolutely zero to do with public health.
Agreed. Yeah.
No, going back to whiskey and cigars, being able to meet other people, I view it as those are my mechanisms to meet people outside of InfoSec, outside of the IT world.
Right.
And to meet creative people who are making things that I've never been part of before. You know, and meeting this guy who, I can't say his company name truly, but he's the one who finds all the socks for Nike. So all the Nike socks, it's actually coming from his little 3-man shop.
Wow.
He doesn't make it. He sources it all for Nike at all these different plants in China and Malaysia and Vietnam, etc. He finds them. He goes out and flies all around and finds the best stuff possible that Nike wants.
Right.
And it's cool people like that.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, it's this crazy legislation. Like, one of the articles I put in here was about West Virginia, right? They're literally their House of Representatives right now is debating each other on whether or not they should allow cigar lounges to even be opened, to be allowed. Think about that for a hot minute. Like, I'm a business owner. I want to start a business. People who are going to come to my business go into it knowing that we're going to go in there and smoke cigars. It's a cigar lounge.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like in days of past where you have a restaurant or a bar and you're like, I want to go there and have a meal and I want to go there and have a drink.
Yeah.
And when you do that, there are people smoking, right? I mean, again, whatever, we can debate secondhand smoke health, and there's a lot of science and studies published about that. That aside, what we're saying today is I want to go to an establishment
that I know
it allows smoking, and I'm going there to smoke.
The purpose of entering the door is to smoke a cigar.
It's to smoke a cigar.
That's the purpose of going in.
It's to be with people who are smoking cigars, to talk with people. I mean, one of the greatest things about walking into a cigar shop or lounge is you get to talk to someone that works there that is passionate about knowing the cigars that are available and then helping you find one that you like.
Right.
Like that's
and I mean, the legislation that's out there right now in West Virginia is about resorts, right? It's about the definition of resort. It can be a casino, it can be a hotel casino, all of these different things. And they're literally debating whether or not they should allow a casino to open up a cigar lounge within a casino. How does that make any sense? That makes zero sense. I'm in a casino. If I'm going to a casino, you know the first thing I do? I look up where the cigar lounge is. That's the first thing I'm going to do. You're going to tell me that I can't open up a business? I can't partner with a casino to open up a cigar lounge? You're going to limit me?
You know what's crazy?
That's ridiculous.
We talk about all this legislation about cigars and cigar smoking, and a lot of it is outdoor bans as well.
Sure,
we talked about
absolutely,
outdoor bans.
100%.
I went to New York City not that long ago. After we recorded, I think, the previous Story Geeks episode, I went to New York City. All you smell is marijuana smoke on the streets of New York City.
Everywhere.
Crap.
Everywhere.
San Francisco. Jim, you live in California, right? San Francisco, same way. And I'm not saying it's wrong or bad or whatever, but I'm like, why does it get different treatment? Like all these marijuana shops open up, walk down the street, that's all you smell.
Right. Yeah.
And why is it you can have a delivery service delivering marijuana products, but you can't have a delivery service that delivers cigarettes
or cigars, right?
Right.
Or cigars.
Right.
tobacco products in general.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
and again, for me, Jim, that goes back to, I think the answer to that was the realization I had of the constituents. Tobacco
Sure.
is evil. If I appeal to my constituents,
That's
it
it.
means I got to label tobacco as evil.
Last Stogie Geeks, Adrian mentioned this.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in a place that has a homeowners association. He cannot smoke a cigar anywhere on the grounds of that homeowners association.
But they can smoke marijuana.
I can
man.
guarantee you, if they had like a vape pen with marijuana in it, the liquid, I can guarantee you they can walk out of their house.
So
and
wait, he can't
pick
smoke a cigar in his backyard.
He cannot.
Correct.
He absolutely cannot.
Oh man!
But there are counties in California, Jim, where that's also true. You cannot smoke tobacco products on your property or in your car. I've talked to people who are in the
your
cigar
car?
business that live in certain counties in California.
They can't sit in their vehicle and smoke.
They
a cigar.
can't smoke in their vehicle and have a cigar.
because they're on a public. Oh, because they're on public property. In their vehicles on public
On
property.
public
On that
property.
You're not allowed
within
to
that
smoke
homeowners
on
association.
public
that-
property.
That's how
It's
they.
not
I
allowed
mean,
on
that's
the
how they
grounds.
pitch it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, someone would have to challenge that in court and say, "I'm in my private vehicle. Yes, I might be on a public road, but I'm in my private vehicle." I mean, that's you're mincing words at that point, and that would
I'm
have to
sorry.
be fleshed out.
I'm
in court.
inside the kingdom of Jim.
Right.
This is my
My
territory.
vehicle that I pay for. Yeah, but that's the type of legislation that's coming down, and it's scary for me. And the reason why I bring this up all the time is because once the legislation's enacted, pulling that back is virtually impossible.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's that slippery slope. So I'm always very critical of legislation.
The latest is
Very critical.
is Mexico. They're trying to ban smoking, either cigarettes or any type of smoking within public places, and it's like it's Mexico. If we've all been there, like it should be open season for everyone. You know
It's
what I
open
mean?
season for everything in Mexico.
Sure.
They have tunnels that are smoggling illegal drugs.
So this is the country. This is the country that enables cartels.
It becomes-
telling you when I go saying to me that when I go to vacation to Mexico, I can't smoke a cigar. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, my friend who just got back from Mexico City, there's a group of them that went. They just got back 3 days ago, and she said that there is no smoking in public anymore.
Yeah.
They will come and they
Yes.
will give you a ticket.
Yes.
They want money
Yes.
right then.
Yeah,
and,
well,
and
that's
it's
the
easy,
federales.
right? It's easy in Mexico because once a law like that happens, the federale can say,
Yeah,
"Look, the normal ticket's $50, but I'll only charge you $25, and I'll let
absolutely.
Yep.
You
And
want
that's
to know
how-
what?
and
Listen,
that's how it
I told you
goes.
I was in the. I told you
That's
I was in the Marine
how
Corps.
it works in Mexico.
I told you I was on the Marine Corps. This was happening way back in the day. Right? In the Marine Corps, we used to go to Tijuana to go party and have fun and go chill out and go let loose a little bit. I remember clearly like it was yesterday. Group of 5 Marines. We're going back home. We're getting ready to cross the border. We've been drinking a lot. We found an abandoned building out on the side. We all had to go take a piss. We go around the building, do our thing, and then we're all starting to walk back. Federales come running at us. You do pee-pee on building. You do pee-pee on building. We're going to arrest you. They wanted $200 a piece
Yikes.
to let us go. You want to know what we did? Put the cuffs on us. We'll be out of here tomorrow. Here's my military ID. Try it. They let us go.
Wow.
They let us go. We challenged it. All they wanted was $200 a piece. That's all they wanted.
That's where it becomes very dangerous.
You're talking like a beat down, broken down, dilapidated building. We ran around. We didn't even do it in public. We went to go find a place to hide, and they wanted $200 a piece.
I was listening to a podcast where someone
Unreal.
was in the back car of the Federales, and I forget the whole story, like how they ended up there, but they were going to let him out to go into their hotel to get money. He's like, I need to go back into my hotel and get money. And they're like, well, we can't follow you into your hotel. And he was like, you can't follow me into my hotel? And bolted.
Boom, right into the
And he
hotel.
was gone and got on his plane and left the next morning.
Because I'm telling you, they do not give a crap about whether or not you're breaking the law.
No, it's not
They
about that.
What they want is the money from the freaking gringos who went over the border to go have some fun. That's what they wanted. $200 a piece, and you're talking the late 90s,
Right.
early
in-
2000s, late 90s.
In 1986, I was going to school for a year, A school, C school, at a Navy base, even though I was in the Coast Guard, at a Navy base. And our thing on the weekends was we would go to Tijuana.
Yeah.
At the time, the rule was for military personnel, you could not stay the night,
Right.
and you had to be back across the border by 11 p.m.
And how many people paid attention to that rule?
at that time, there's no computers, right? There's no
Right.
computer
Yeah,
system
exactly.
checking you in and out, right? So we get across the border, we do our thing, and it's like 3:00 in the morning on Saturday morning, and we decide we're going to get a hotel, and we go to one of these little rinky-dink hotels off of Revolution Boulevard, and there's 6 of us, and there's a cop, a federale standing outside. He knew full well the rules,
Yeah.
and he said, I want $20 from each of you. Otherwise, I'm going to take you to the border, and you're going to get in trouble with your boss. Like, whoa. And we all ponied up.
Sure.
Right.
We all gave him money.
But that's how they're making money. That's how they were making money.
Right.
Unbelievable, man. Just scamming us. Scamming us. Yeah, I mean, luckily for us, we were like, screw you. Put handcuffs on us. We'll be out by the morning. Screw you. You're not getting 200.
They didn't know they were trying to arrest Marines.
5
They
Marines.
They didn't have the. You didn't have the $200 each.
No, not
Yeah.
even close. We spent it all, I spent it all at Iguanas, which was the bar at the time that we all used to go to, Iguanas. My $200 is gone, man. All I had was the coins in my pocket and the pee I just put on the back of your building. That's all I had. So, but it's amazing how.
I mean, Tijuana was made because of the military.
Sure, and it lives because of the military. It's alive because
Right.
of the military. There's no doubt in my mind.
Right.
We're gonna wrap up. Jim, it was wonderful having you on the show, man. It was fun hanging out with you. Well, I want to come hang out with you in your whiskey collection. I think we all do at this point. So
I want to see you at VetCon. I'm going to go there.
absolutely. Thank you for sharing everything about whiskey. I learned some things during this interview, which was really great. So thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. It was a lot of fun. Hey, maybe next time I'm on the show, I'll do it from my bourbon room.
Yes.
And you guys can hey, what's on the 3rd shelf? Hey, what's on the 5th shelf?
Yes. You need a selfie stick that you can walk around with. So you can
Yes. Well, awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening and watching this edition of the Stogie Geek Show. We'll see you next time.